Hello, this is a guy who likes fanfiction and is too lazy to read, so here is Neo Yondaime Hokage in audio form. Check the description for the links to the author. Chapter 61, Daisuke's True Face. Back in Konoha, 3 hours later. Guy was at the Hokage Tower making his way to Tsunade's office. What he saw from Daisuke's fight with Tenten along with what Niji told him troubled and disturbed him. And the fact that only Kano Amaru knows of that mysterious ninja was another question factor. Reaching the door, Guy opened it and walked in to see Kurane, Kakashi, and Asuma already present in the office. "Guy-san," Tsunade greeted, "your timing is impeccable. I'm happy you're here for this also. Is there something that I'm to be made aware of?" Guy asked as he entered the office and closed the door behind him. "There is word of an unknown ninja circulating around the village," Kurane answered for Tsunade. "You mean the one that's been hanging around Kano Amaru?" Guy asked. "So you've met this ninja," Asuma figured. Guy nodded. "Only a few hours ago when he approached my team and I at our training ground with Kano Amaru following him. He goes by the name Rurounin no Daisuke." "So this ninja has a name," Kakashi remarked while reading his orange book. "That makes things a little easier." "Guy-san," Shizune inquired, "is there more you know about him? More information about this unknown ninja would be helpful to us. He demonstrated some of his unique skills and jutsus earlier today," Guy replied. "He knows medic jutsus and his style of fighting resembles Orochimaru's." That revelation earned everyone's undivided attention. Kakashi closed and put away his book, seeing the seriousness of the briefing. Tsunade had a calculating look and clasped her hands together as she rested her chin over her hands. "Care to elaborate?" Guy went into details explaining the spar that took place between Daisuke and Tenten. Everyone in the room listened to Guy's explanation as he also explained to them what Niji told him and his teammates. When Guy was done, Kurane explained what Shino and Kiba explained to her about Daisuke having no body scent and how Akamaru and Shino's Kikai bugs reacted awkwardly towards Daisuke. "So we have a stranger waltzing around the village who possesses no body odor, a possibly non-existing face and whose fighting style bear a resemblance to that of a traitorous Sunin," Shizune summed up. "Do you suppose this ninja has some connections to Orochimaru, Tsunade-sama?" Tsunade sighed while in thought and said, "Up until now, I have never heard of this ninja." "What do you want us to do, Tsunade-sama?" Kurane asked. Tsunade was quiet for a moment as she meditated on everything she was told. After considering the situation, the Slug Princess decided not to take chances with this unknown ninja. "Find and bring Daisuke in for questioning," Tsunade ordered. "I want to know exactly who he is and why he's here." "And if he refuses to comply to be taken into our custody?" Kakashi asked. "Then subdue and arrest him by any means," Tsunade stated. "With the four of you working together, I trust there won't be too great of a problem." "Asuma." Asuma muttered. "Bring in Kano Amaru," Tsunade said. "My nephew?" Asuma asked. "Why?" "The boy has been reported to being in the company of Daisuke the entire time, Asuma," Tsunade made clear. "Like it or not, the boy is an accomplice to this as well." Asuma sighed as he reluctantly complied. "What did that idiot of a nephew of mine get himself into this time?" Kurane saw the troubled look on her boyfriend's face. "Dismissed," Tsunade stated before the four Jounins went on their way to find both Daisuke and Kano Amaru. Meanwhile, Team 9 was walking together after completing the day's training session. Tenten was still nursing her wounded pride after being defeated and healed by Daisuke. "That's the second time I lost to a foreigner," Tenten thought sourly before her mood changed, "but at least he was kind enough to heal all of my injuries. Yet what Niji said about Daisuke having no face really creeps me out." "Tenten," Lee asked, seeing that his female comrade was spacing out, "are you feeling well?" "Just fine, Lee," Tenten assured. "I was thinking about that Daisuke character." "Yes," Lee said, "he was a most youthful friend of Kano Amaru-kun. His hard work has truly paid off for him, especially seeing that he shares our vision in flaming youthful." "Don't remind me," Tenten sighed. "As strong as this Daisuke is, it's almost surprising that none of us has ever heard of him." "Perhaps," Niji spoke up, "he's good at covering up his tracks and living under a very low profile. Oftentimes, stronger ninjas have many enemies that want them dead, if they could be killed." "Do you speculate that Daisuke-san has acquired enemies in foreign territories?" Lee asked. "Maybe now he seeks refuge here in Konoha, do you think?" Nothing of that nature has been said, Niji pointed out, so we shouldn't presume that dash. Haley, Tenten, Niji, a hyperactive voice yelled out. Team 9 turned to see Yu Naruto and Hinata walking together and making their way over to them. Naruto-kun, Lee greeted, how are you? I'm feeling great, Naruto replied, thanks to Hinata that is. The Hyuga heiress smiled with a faint blush on her cheeks. What happened, Niji inquired, and how did Hinata-sama helped? Naruto started off, some guy named Rurouni no Daisuke showed up and dash. We know him, Tenten interjected, we saw him earlier with Kano Amaru when they came by during our training session. What did that prick do? Naruto asked, causing Team 9 to look at him funny. You mean he isn't a friend of yours, Naruto? Niji asked. Hell no, he isn't, Yu Naruto spat, that pompous cold bastard had the nerve to badmouth Sasuke and Sakura-chan to my face and think nothing of it. Actually, Hinata confessed, it was Daisuke-san who suggested that I go find and cheer you up, Naruto-kun. What? Naruto turned to Hinata in surprise, you're joking right? Hinata shook her head, my team and I met Daisuke-san with Ino and Sakura at the library. He said that his first meeting with you was bitter and unpleasant. He acknowledged that you weren't happy with the outcome of his meeting with you. Blushed, so, he wanted me to find and make you happy again. He was confident that I could cheer you up and get you back into your normal self again. This revelation shocked Yu Naruto greatly. Up to now, Naruto was cursing Daisuke's name to hell for all the things he said earlier, and now Hinata admitted that Daisuke wanted her to cheer and make him happy again. Though Hinata was a shy and timid girl, she wasn't a liar, this Yu Naruto knew. Daisuke did that? Naruto asked. Hinata nodded with her head partly lowered. She was afraid that this would make Naruto think differently of her, even after what he said about her at Ichiraku. I guess his sending you Hinata to cheer me up was his way of saying he's sorry, Yu Naruto figured. I suppose he's not so cold after all, though he's still a pompous prick. Why, you don't dislike me for that, do you? Hinata asked nervously. Don't be crazy, Hinata, Naruto replied, I'd still be sulking in my own misery right now had it not been for you. I don't think any less of you for that, and I meant everything I said of you back at the Ichiraku. Databia. Hinata blushed redder and smiled brightly, secretly wishing to thank Daisuke to placing Yu Naruto in a foul mood and sending her to cheer him up. Tenten was about to say something when she caught sight of the other genins and Shikamaru approaching and joining them. Konoha's 11 was now assembled. What's the troublesome topic that's in discussion amongst you guys? Shikamaru asked boredly. Kano Amaru's new friend, Tenten answered, Rurouni no Daisuke. Never heard of him, Choji said while munching on his chips. None of us have until today, Sakura said. We don't know much about him, Ino added. Besides that fact that he's an expert user of the Naginata and no medic jutsus, Tenten commented. He knows medic jutsus? Sakura asked. Tenten nodded. He came with Kano Amaru a few hours ago at the training group we were at and challenged me to a spar. I lost badly and he had to heal me. What's more is that Daisuke is walking puzzle, Niji stated. I couldn't make sense of his chakra, his coils and bodily makeup. Along with this, he has no face. What's that supposed to mean? Naruto asked, confused with the others except Tenten and Lee also looking confused. Niji elaborated, during his spar with Tenten, I used my Byakugan to analyze him and found an undefined chakra coil system with erratic chakra in his body. When I went to see his mask, I couldn't see a face or make sense of what I was seeing. Don't feel like you're going crazy, Kiba interjected. Akamaru, Shino and I also couldn't make head or tails of that guy either. How so? Hinata asked, since we left early from the library instead of sticking around with her team. Compounded with Niji finding Daisuke with no face, Shino spoke up, we found him with no body odor. He has no scent whatsoever, making tracing him with tracking dogs or bugs impossible. But if Kano Amaru is still in his company, Shikamaru figured, then let's follow Kano Amaru's scent and see where it leads us. The genins nodded in agreement as they and Shikamaru made their plan to track down Daisuke through Kano Amaru. While this was going on, 3 kunoichis were standing on the rooftop of one of the buildings looking on at the group below. This is not good, Ino remarked. N, Ino, and Hinata and Entamari will be used to differentiate between the girls from Naruto's universe. We have to get to Daisuke and Kano Amaru before they do, Entamari stated. Hinata, can you locate them? I'll try, and Hinata said, Byakugan. Using her bloodline limit, and Hinata scanned around the village in hopes of finding both the boy and Daisuke. So far, her search turned up blank. They don't seem to be in the village, and Hinata confirmed, they must be elsewhere. Let's continue our search on foot, Tamari suggested as the two younger girls nodded before departing on their way. Back in the cave. After spending a couple of hours studying and analyzing the seal, Jiraiya began writing a series of high-level seal stabilizers around the Hokuseki Senshi. From the complexity of the seal, the Toad Sunin had a bit of a while before he could enact the stabilizers. Elsewhere in the forest, a squirrel was moving around in search of food to eat. It went from place to place eating the small vegetation and berries it found on the ground. As the animal was eating what food it found, an inexplicable creature stealthily made its way over to where the squirrel was. Slowly the creature moved closer to the squirrel while the animal was unaware of its presence. The squirrel didn't have time to react when the creature ambushed and killed it before swallowing it whole. After ingesting the slain squirrel, the creature grew in size, becoming more reptilian as it grew arms, feet, and a spiky tail. The reptilian creature went in search of more food and prey to increase in strength. All the while, Kano Amaru and Daisuke were walking together outside Konoha where the running stream was. The older teen was still carrying his naginata over his right shoulder while Kano Amaru was looking over the book he borrowed from the shinobi library. The boy was surprised at the amount of rules that went into using Bojutsu and the naginata. The dedication it would take for him to learn from that book would require more time than his anticipated. Kano Amaru-chan, a young feminine voice called out, breaking Kano Amaru out of his studies. The boy looked up to see Mogi and Udon running over to him. Kano Amaru closed his book and held it in his arm as the pair approached him and Daisuke. Mogi-chan, Udon, Kano Amaru greeted, what are you two doing here? We were looking everywhere for you, Mogi smiled, we haven't seen you for the last few days. We thought something might have happened to you, Udon said, is everything alright? Just fine, Kano Amaru assured. Mogi and Udon looked to see the older teen standing next to Kano Amaru. Who's this guy? Mogi asked as she eyed the older boy questionably. Oh him, Kano Amaru answered, this is Ruraunin no Daisuke. He's a visitor. From where? Udon asked. That's exactly what we'd like to know, Kakashi said as he and the three other Jounins appeared some distance from them. Daisuke found Kakashi, Guy, Asuma, and Kurane standing in front of him and the three youths. Is there a problem? Daisuke asked. Ruraunin no Daisuke, Kakashi replied, we have orders to bring you in for questioning. Kano Amaru wondered what was going on, what's the idea? Daikun didn't do anything dash. Kano Amaru, Asuma interjected, this ninja is an unknown stranger, and we have rules about foreign ninjas entering and walking through our village unauthorized. The boy was about to defend his friend when Kano Amaru, Daisuke said, please take your two friends and head over to your uncle. I don't want you or them to get into any trouble. Asuma looked at Daisuke cautiously, how did you know I'm his uncle? I saw the resemblance, Daisuke shrugged. Asuma and the other Jounins didn't look convinced. Kano Amaru complied and went over to Asuma with Mogi and Udon, leaving Daisuke alone. Daisuke, Kurane spoke up, save both us and yourself the trouble by following us back for questioning. On what charges? Daisuke asked. You possess attributes that our Hokage finds questionable, Asuma said. I didn't do anything wrong nor did I do anything in secret, Daisuke retorted calmly, Kano Amaru and I were always where we could be seen by the public and ninja populace. Therefore your Hokage's paranoia is unfounded. You're in our village unauthorized, Kakashi said, and we have no record of you or your exploits in any village or nation. You must be Hatake Kakashi, Daisuke said, I know much about your exploits. Also I ran into the blonde fool and Dekasuke earlier. Who? Guy asked. He means Naruto Nyakin and Sakura-san, Kano Amaru interpreted. What did you do? Kakashi asked. Offer Naruto some advice which I doubt he'll accept, Daisuke replied. And that was? Kakashi inquired. For him to stop pursuing fruitless romances with kunoichis that don't like him, Daisuke explained, and to broaden his horizons to find a kunoichi worth his time and effort who likes and appreciates him for just being him. His wasted infatuation with Sakura will get him nowhere besides at the other end of her fist. The Jounins now had raised eyebrows on hearing that. You're telling us that you came to Konoha to help Naruto with his love life, Kakashi remarked cynically, knowing that there was a lot more to Daisuke's presence than he was letting on. If he has a female companion who admires and appreciates him and finds inspiration from him as a drive to better herself, Daisuke replied, both that girl and Naruto will get very far, I strongly believe. That shy Hyuga heiress seems like a nice girl. I hope she went and cheered Naruto up like I asked after that fool and I got into a small argument earlier today. And what did that argument entail that required Hinata to comfort Naruto? Kurane asked. Deep down, Kurane was wondering what Daisuke's true motives were. It was almost as though he was trying to hook Naruto and Hinata up. The Genjutsu mistress, who was practically a mother figure to the Hyuga heiress, knew of Hinata's feelings for Naruto and her reluctance to open up and tell the Naruto the truth about it. For him to accept the fact that Sasuke is a traitor to Konoha and to everything the title of Hokage stands for, Daisuke stated, the argument turned ugly as he stubbornly refused to accept everything I told him about Sasuke's betrayal and his senseless promise to Sakura and bringing that traitor back to Konoha. In the end, I sent that fool away in tears without so much of an apology. After Kano Amaru and I ran into the other genins at the library, I briefly told them what happened between Naruto and myself and requested Hinata to find and cheer Naruto up. Why Hinata? Kurane asked carefully. She expressed the most concern for Naruto and his well-being, Daisuke said with no deception in his voice. I knew she'd have taken immediate action if anything were to happen to Naruto. It was clear to me that the young girl has feelings for the stubborn narrow-minded genin. Later Kano Amaru and I met up with Guy and his team and I had a sparring session with Panda KO. Who? Asuma asked. Tenten, Guy interpreted, that's the nickname he gave her, which my youthful student doesn't seem to like. After my sparring session with her, Daisuke continued, Kano Amaru and I went on our way and ended up where we are now. Kurane and the other Jounins looked at Daisuke suspiciously. How do you know about Sasuke's defection? Kakashi asked. I have my sources, Daisuke replied, plus I do my own research. Sasuke's a lost cause, though Naruto won't accept that, foolishly believing that he could redeem someone who consciously betrayed all that the Hokages gave their lives for. Naruto had a bond with Sasuke, Kakashi retorted, and they were best friends despite their rivalry. Despite the rivalry you both had, Kakashi, Daisuke implied. Obito didn't betray his bond and friendship with you before his untimely death, did he, Kakashi? Kakashi's eye narrowed dangerously at Daisuke. He saved your life at the cost of his own, Daisuke continued, and gave you his Sharingan to replace the left eye you lost to that Iwa Jounin during the Third Great Shinobi World War. I consider that Uchiha's selfless actions as one of a true friend, not Sasuke's. Kakashi and the other Jounins saw that Daisuke knew and understood too much, and the fact that Kano Amaru and his two friends were around to hear this didn't help matters either. Daisuke, Kakashi stated with a serious tone, you will follow us back to Konoha seeing that you possess knowledge that very few are to know. You're a security risk. I have no intentions of being interrogated any further, Daisuke said, I answered all of your questions with no falsity to my explanations. Don't make matters harder than they have to be, Daisuke-san, Kurane interjected, we don't want to have to resort to force. But we will if we have to. The four of you against one, Daisuke acknowledged, that doesn't seem like a fair fight seeing that you guys won't see much. I don't intend to break a sweat. Kakashi looked at Daisuke carefully and wondered if this ninja really knew what he was getting himself into while believing he could dispatch four of Konoha's elites. Guy was about to say something when Daisuke suddenly grabbed himself after feeling something rush through his being. He fell to his knees while holding himself. His Naginata disappeared into him. Daikon, Kano Amaru called out, are you alright? As Daisuke held onto himself, he started glowing with blue chakra as an image of someone else started pulling onto him, as the dimensional fabric of reality was warping around him. Soon a dimensional bubble appeared around Daisuke. A few seconds later, it imploded with a flash, revealing an entirely different person kneeling in Daisuke's place in the same pose and position Daisuke formerly was in. The new person had spiky blonde hair, dark gray ninja pants, a white tank top and was barefooted. He was catching his breath while in his disoriented state. Kakashi and the others stayed on guard, ready for anything, or so they thought. Naruto and the others arrived to see their respective Jounin senseis, Kano Amaru and his friends standing in front of the new guy that was previously where Daisuke was. Kakashi-sensei, Naruto called out as he and the others hurried over to them. "What are you all doing here?" Asuma asked. "Looking for this Daisuke guy," Shikamaru replied in boredom. "I was dragged into this troublesome adventure." "Who's that guy?" Naruto inquired as he turned and pointed to the new guy on his knees with his face to the ground. Everyone else at that moment turned to the new stranger as he focused green chakra into his right hand and placed it over his head to stop and heal the pain in his disoriented condition. Moments later he was done as the chakra disappeared. Turning away from the others, the stranger stood back up on his feet with his back facing them. He stretched and cracked a few bones around his body to loosen himself up. There was a moment of silence as the group prepared for whatever the new stranger was planning. "Hey," Guy yelled out, "who are you? And what became of Daisuke-san?" "Ruraunin no Daisuke does not exist," the stranger replied. "He was merely a projected embodiment of my stronger ninja characteristics and ideals that were somehow extracted from out of me. He was somehow merged and absorbed back into me, returning me back to normal." The stranger turned to face them, giving everyone a shock they weren't prepared for. Kano Amaru pretended to be shocked so as to not blow his cover. Kakashi and the others Jounins couldn't believe who they were looking at. Minato-sensei, Kakashi stuttered. Naruto looked at both Kakashi and the stranger in confusion and repeated, "Minato-sensei." "You wish," the stranger remarked, "the name's Naruto." "You." Naruto's eyes widened from the sheer audacity of the person in front of him claiming to be him. Hinata and Neji both looked at him and activated their Byakugan. "He looks like the spitting image of Yondaime," Kurane thought. "That's Naruto Nyakan," Mogi asked in shock. "Only bigger," Udon implied, and without the whisker marks on his face. "What the hell are you trying to pull, you damn imposter?" Naruto yelled out. "I'm Uzumaki Naruto." "Indeed we are," and Naruto agreed. "We have the same blood, the same birthday, the same body scent and the same eyes. But I'm just in my older teenage form as a result of a healing kinjutsu that backfired and aged me. Plus our personalities and level of skills are way different despite the fact that some of our characteristics are similar." "You expect us to believe that load of garbage, Baka," Sakura scoffed. "You don't even have the whisker scar marks on your face. That's something Naruto has naturally. Even in this universe you never change at all, Sakura," and Naruto remarked in boredom, "You're still the same Dekasuke I often took you for." That was the same mocking nickname Daisuke called her earlier that day. Sakura now radiated bloodlust and the desire to pulverize the older blonde. Naruto knew that since Sakura was now studying under Tsunade, she was also practicing how to imitate Tsunade's strength. "You're in for some busted teeth and a bad beat-down, Buster," Sakura threatened. "Idle threats," and Naruto replied, "Do not work on me." Before Sakura could retort. "He's telling the truth," Neji confirmed. "About his insults to me," Sakura sneered. "No," Neji replied, "about who he says he is. That teenager in front us is truly Naruto." "What?" other genins except Hinata yelled out. Naruto retorted, "That can't be dash." "There's no mistake," Hinata agreed with Neji as she blushed hot red while examining the older-looking Naruto. "He is NN, Naruto-kun, except his chakra coils are thicker and far more developed. Other than that, their chakra signatures are exactly the same." N. Naruto wanted to say something to Hinata but decided against it. "The guy smells exactly like Naruto," Kiba confirmed. "There's no distinct difference between their scents." "This is how Naruto will look like when he grows older," Ino asked with a disbelieving expression. "Damn. I never thought dead last Naruto would grow up to look this hot. And he's muscularly built and toned too. Without that ridiculous-looking orange jumpsuit that stands out like a sore thumb," and Naruto remarked. "Ridiculous," Naruto growled, "who are you to talk?" As everyone was having his or her thoughts of and Naruto was studying him carefully, Kakashi decided to go straight to the point. "What did you mean by even in this universe?" Kakashi asked cautiously, And exactly who or what are you, since you say that this Daisuke had split from you earlier today? And seeing that your style of fighting resembles Orochimaru's, are you in any way affiliated with him? You. Naruto turned to Kakashi after hearing the question asked. Are you one of Orochimaru's special ninjas with the cursed seal? You, Naruto asked. Do you know where Sasuke and Orochimaru are? 1. And Naruto said, though I know the snake fighting style, I have no connections with Orochimaru nor do I know where he is. 2. I do not share whatever attachments and sentiments you have for that traitor Sasuke. You. Naruto growled angrily, you may look like me, but there's no way you're my older self. I never said I was you, and Naruto remarked, and I made it clear that we're very different in spite of whatever similarities we share. If you have nothing to do with Orochimaru, Guy asked, then why are you here? I was summoned to this world, and Naruto said straightforwardly, through the use of a long-lost ancient S-class summoning jutsu, a jutsu that can only be executed properly by an experienced seal master. The group found this revelation hard to digest, let alone believe, despite the truthfulness in Naruto's voice. You're from another dimension, Choji asked, being the first to break out of his shock. I thought I established that fact earlier, and Naruto remarked, I'm from a completely different plane of reality. Why don't you have whisker marks on your face? Kakashi asked. For reasons concerning my birth I'd rather not discuss, and Naruto answered, but I assure you Kakashi that the other Naruto and I share the same burden. The Genins assumed that he meant that he too was an orphan, however the Jounins deciphered Naruto's meaning behind his words in that he's also a Jinhiriki of Kyuubi no Yoko. Another Jinhiriki was summoned, Kakashi thought, one who also has a Kyuubi within them. This could be trouble. 2 containers of Kyuubi, Guy wondered, one from a completely different dimension? If what you say is true, Asuma asked cautiously, who summoned you? The identity of my summoner is of no importance, and Naruto answered, even if it was, I'm not allowed to reveal my summoner's identity seeing that I'm bound to that summoning jutsu's contract. Nevertheless, Kakashi cut in, you will be brought back with us under the Hokage's orders. N. Naruto focused chakra through his body. Understandably, from all that you saw and heard, it's clear that you all will do what you must to bring me back for further interrogations, either by Marino Ibiki or Yamanaka Inoichi, and Naruto said as he assumed a fighting stance, I'm afraid I can't let that happen. Therefore, all of you are going to have to fight me. Don't make this any harder than it has to be, Kurane stated, you're outnumbered and foolishly chancing a fight between yourself and 4 ninja squads. N. Naruto replied, like I said, I won't allow myself be brought in for interrogations, Tsunade's orders, or not. Kano Amaru was at a loss in what Naruto was up to. Seeing that Naruto masked his identity in being the one who summoned him, Kano Amaru decided to play it safe and not jump into the situation taking place. Kano Amaru, you Naruto said, take Udon and Mogi to a safe spot from here while we deal with this guy. Kano Amaru didn't argue as he just did as he is told in backing away and leaving the group with Mogi and Udon. Seeing that this mysterious seal master have summoned you into this world for an unknown reason, especially through the use of the jutsu you mentioned, Kakashi said as he lifted up his hard protector off his left eye to reveal his Sharingan, it's clear that we better not take you lightly. Guy got into a taijutsu stance, Kurane assumed a fighting stance of her own and Asuma pulled out and placed his knuckle knives on. Their respective genins likewise readied themselves to face off against Naruto. Tenten pulled out her weapons, Sakura pulled out some senbon needles, Lee and Niji assumed their respective fighting stances. You'll pay for that, Dekasuke, remark of yours, Sakura snarled. Shino readied his bugs around his arms and Kiba and Akamaru took their beastly battle stances. Ready Akamaru? Kiba asked. Akamaru barked in affirmation. Hinata had a saddened facial expression as she looked at the older Naruto. She looked as though she wanted to curl up and cry. Still, she was a ninja of Konoha, and despite how she felt inside about the situation, she had her obligations and responsibilities as a kunoichi and she had to protect Konoha from outside threats, whatever and whoever they may be. She assumed her Jyuken style, Naruto-kun. It's said in most unyouth that you have to fight against us as our enemy other Naruto-kun, Lee said as he looked at Naruto, nevertheless, we'll show you how radiant our flaming youth is in this world. This is so troublesome, Shikamaru remarked, what good could come from this? Enough talk, Naruto replied, let's just kick this guy's ass and bring him back. Kage Bushin no Jutsu. Naruto summoned 10 clones, making their number 25 to 1. Seeing this, Naruto stood up from his fighting stance and grinned mischievously as he was now about to put his plan into action. The look Kakashi saw was one Naruto would give when he was up to no good. What is he up to? Kakashi wondered. First of all, Naruto narrated as he picked up a rock and tossed it up and down, I'm 22 years old and a school teacher. My love life is rather dull seeing that I'm not married, which accounts for all the vivid imaginations I have developed over the first year I started teaching, especially as I work with many gorgeous young women. Everyone now looked at Naruto with a perplexed expression. What the hell is he doing? Tenten asked. Beats me, Shikamaru replied. Naruto continued as he started walking back and forth while continually tossing the rock up and down. My fantasy always revolved around some of my students, who are aged from 16 to 18. Being a confirmed young man, I'm constantly distracted by the luscious curves all around me at school. Alongside this, many of the girls in school frequently wear form-fitting clothes and short skirts. Several times while I was teaching the class, I found it difficult to stay focused on what I would be discussing while trying not to see what color panties the girls were wearing since most choose to cross their legs in a fashion that would arouse any young man my age in their early prime. Kakashi couldn't help but blush and giggle perversely as he was intrigued with the story. It was like listening to the narration of one of his favorite books. Naruto and his clones were looking at Naruto in disgust. Arobaka, Naruto yelled, what kind of ninja are you? Are you even serious about fighting us? The older blonde tossed the rock at their feet and continued his story shamelessly. One day during class, I went over to one particular girl with short lavender hair and pale eyes, while the rest of the students were working. I moved over casually to this student and started talking with her about her work. While talking, I absent-mindedly stroked her hair, and she responded by resting her head against my hand, carefully so that nobody would notice. We were both quickly excited. She knew what I want, and she wanted it too. By this time I was becoming hard. She noticed and pushed her chair back a little so that her shoulder was pressing against my erection, where she rubbed it with little movements. In turn, I pointed to her work in front of her and managed to brush against her breast accidentally. The risk of someone noticing what we were doing made it all the more exciting to us. Kakashi blushed and held his mouth as he giggled again. He was already hooked to the story. Guy found the story most unyouthful and taboo. Unlike Kakashi, neither Guy nor Asuma were taking a liking to what they were hearing. What the hell is this? Asuma asked to no one in particular, is this supposed to be someone's idea of a twisted joke? I don't know what this older Naruto-san is trying to pull, Guy responded, but his story crosses too many boundaries between sensei and apprentice. Kurane didn't like where this story was going and she was very already angered by the sexual context of the story involving a teacher and his student. She turned to Hinata only to find that the red-faced Hyuga heiress was already in a trance. Hinata was blushing like a tomato while involuntarily listening to Naruto's voice telling the story in the first person, especially after hearing the short description of the spoken girl. Sakura looked ready to kill and pummel Naruto and was trying to think of when would be the best moment to attack the pervert. Naruto's Warak no Jutsu is bad enough, Sakura remarked, but this other Naruto is worse. Ino tried to look angry but she couldn't help but wonder what was going to happen next as she visualized herself as the girl Naruto was talking about. Kiba looked to be hanging on every word being spoken while Shino had a raised eyebrow. Niji was frowning at Naruto and shook his head in disapproval upon seeing the look on Hinata's face. Lee, Chuji, and Shikamaru didn't know what to expect from this bizarre change of situation from ready to fight to erotic storytelling. By this time we were both so aroused that it must have become noticeable. I backed off and suggested that she come with me to the storeroom to get some materials. The rest of the class continued working. Naruto turned to look at the group and saw that they didn't know whether to attack him or even bother to take him serious about actually fighting. The older teen blonde smiled and continued with a more sensual tone. When we got to the storeroom, I locked the door and then turned to her. She was waiting, roused, but not knowing what to do as I was the first man that had affected her this way. We kissed delicately, and then I turned her back to me and pulled her to me. At first she didn't understand why, but when I started touching and fondling her soft ample breasts and erected nipples, she saw the advantages of this position and pressed back against me. Feeling her silky and creamy skin against my hands with the smell of her body was intoxicating. She had never felt a man's touch before, and the sensations she was experiencing from my touch and caress awoken a passion in her soul. I slowly worked down to her clitoris, and the tension built up in her until I finally reached under her pants and panties and rubbed my finger between her slit. It was wet and juicy with anticipation. She was frantically pushing and rubbing her buttocks against my hardened member by this time, and I was almost ready to burst from her grinding. Enough of this, Kurane yelled indignantly with a reddened face. I don't see why we should bother to take you serious about actually fighting all of us. You're as bad as Jiraiya-sama, if not worse. Niji, Kiba, and the rest of the boys by this time were blushing like crazy and unwillingly felt aroused by what Naruto was describing. Lee found this Naruto very unyouthful and found his student-teacher love affair story inappropriate. The girls had embarrassed facial expressions from Naruto's graphically detailed story. Kurane was preparing to do a set of hand signs to catch Naruto in a deep genjutsu before she and the rest of the girls beat hell out of him. Seeing their expressions, Naruto continued. I undid her pants button and unzipped her fly, while at the same time she had reached behind her and undid my zipper before stroking my erect manhood. Its size scared her for a little while, and I had to gently persuade her that she could completely take it in. Hinata now felt small trickles of blood dripping from her nose with the visuals she was having. She didn't know much she could take before she passed out from blood loss, but wanted to hear the whole thing out. Ino tried to fight down the blush and perverted smile that formed on her face while feeling heat building up within herself. Tenten, blushing like the others, held her kunows tightly while seeking a right moment to attack the shameless storytelling pervert. I'll kill him. I'll kill him, Sakura contemplated as she grinded her teeth with fury and cracked her knuckles. This new Naruto will need Tsunade-sama to heal him personally after I'm finished mangling his body. You. Naruto and his clones turned pale and gulped upon seeing the look on Sakura's face. I'd hate to be the other me right now, Naruto thought fearfully, believing Naruto was really in for it when he has to suffer Kurane and the other females' wrath when his storytelling was over. By this time, she was really hot, with the added thrill from the fact that anybody may come into the storeroom at any time. So I dash. Kakashi was sent flying backwards off the ground after Naruto instantly appeared and punched him hard in the face. Speedily Naruto swung kicked Guy hard to the back of his head. Guy was sent straight to the ground head first, knocking him out instantly. Kakashi skidded off the ground several times before coming to a brutal stop on the ground, lying motionless and unconscious. Futon, Shibuya Uzumaki no Jutsu, Naruto yelled out as he focused wind chakra and rotated in a speeding blur with his arms extended, creating a wind-manipulated version of the Kaiten. The attack punched and knocked everyone off their feet and away from him with a strong force as the wind dome extended. Naruto's clones were all taken out while Naruto himself and the others were sent flying either to the ground or into nearby trees. Naruto stood in the center of the small crater he created from his wind-based vortex. He watched moments later as Asuma, Kurane, and the other genins helped each other up. They all sported a series of bruises, bleeding scrapes, and cuts from his surprise attack and ambush. Kakashi and Guy, who were still unconscious, were also blasted away from Naruto's wind attack, which led to them suffering additional injuries as collateral damage. Shino and Kiba were picking themselves off the ground and Akamaru was whimpering in pain from the impact of the attack and collision into the base of the tree he hit. Are you hurt? Shino asked Kiba despite his own injuries. Just my pride, Kiba snarled while holding the injured Akamaru in his arms. I'll get that other Naruto for this. Hinata and Niji were left speechless in how Naruto was able to create an attack that closely resembled the Hyuga's prized Kaiten. Who is this ninja? Niji thought as he helped Hinata off the ground. He used an attack similar to the Kaiten based on pure wind manipulation. He's not a normal ninja and his rank must be that of a high jounin. Hinata pulled out her handkerchief and wiped away the blood that had dripped from out of her nose while trying to cool down her arousal that resulted from Naruto's story. Sakura, after checking her own injuries, went to see if Guy and Kakashi were alright and if they suffered any serious injuries. Ino was helping Chuji up and then went to help Shikamaru only to see that the Chiyunin lost consciousness after hitting his head on the tree he crashed into. Naruto was helping Tenten and Lee pull themselves together. Kakashi and Guy were obstacles I didn't want to deal with, as was Shikamaru, and Naruto explained. Kakashi had brains and the Sharingan, Guy was a powerhouse with the capacity to back Kakashi and the rest of you up, and Shikamaru was the strategist. I wanted them out of the way without too much trouble, which was why I conjured up that hentai story I gave not too long ago. I knew I could count on Asuma, Kurane, and Guy to be strongly disgusted at my story and Kakashi's perverted nature to lead them to take the bait. With all of you being in the state of minds I placed you all in while telling my story, it was easy catching and attacking you all by surprise. Remarkably, none of you suffered from bone breakage, yet. Kurane and Asuma saw that and Naruto thought this plan through and admitted that they themselves were effectively caught off guard by this. What Naruto didn't tell them was that he also placed a jutsu marker on the rock he tossed at them earlier, which was why he was able to shunshin over to them combined with Minato's speed and take out Guy and Kakashi when they least expected it. Using the futon, Shippuyu Uzumaki no jutsu in close range within their midst made the attack all the more devastating despite the fact that he held back from using it at full force. Team, Naruto snarled, you'll pay for this. You all have only yourselves to blame for letting your guard down, and Naruto made clear. Perhaps, Neji retorted, but we will not make that mistake twice. We better take that Naruto more serious this time, Shino advised. What happened earlier only confirmed that he's a lot stronger, faster and smarter than he lets on. He can also use wind manipulation, Asuma pointed out, that makes him more dangerous, so be careful. Naruto gestured for the remaining ninjas to come at him. I'll beat that pervert to death, Inner Sakura screamed, I'll put that Naruto in his place. Shanero. Sakura gathered her senbon needles and held them between her fingers. Hiding in the bushes, Sakura positioned herself at the left of where Naruto was standing. With careful aiming and accuracy, she launched the needles at Naruto, hitting several vital spots on his body. Everyone watched as the blonde elite Jounin was struck by the needles in his back and chest before falling to the ground on one knee with the senbon needles implanted into his body. Damn it, Naruto cursed as he turned to the left to see Sakura emerged from out of the bushes. I didn't anticipate this. Whoa, Naruto thought in admiration. Sakura-chan immobilized him. I guess all that training with Tsunade no Bachin really paid off. That other me is in for it this time. Naruto struggled to move but found it painful to do so. Seeing his incapacitated and defenseless state, Sakura approached him and threw 2 more needles into his arms to ensure that he couldn't perform any seals. Naruto snarled from the attack as he stared up at Sakura on his one knee with narrowed eyes. The other genins slowly approached Naruto as he unwillingly remained where he was. Sakura and Tenten looked ready to pummel him while Shino eyed Naruto warily. Hinata kept her distance after she and Kiba saw the look on Shino's face. Dekasuke was it? Sakura asked as she cracked her knuckles. Any final words you like to say, Naruto? Just one, Naruto painfully strained. Bang. Naruto exploded, blasting everyone away from him. Ino and Chuji were sent soaring and rolling across the dirt and grass and into the nearby stream. Sakura-chan, Naruto yelled as he saw his female teammate blasted into the air before crashing down to the ground, battered with a couple of burns and unconscious with an equally battered Tenten colliding into Sakura and crashing down next to her as she was also knocked out. Tenten, Lee yelled out as Naruto went over to the unconscious girls. Naruto burst from out of the ground in front of Naruto and Lee and stood up with a collected expression. When did he switch with an exploding clone? Hinata wondered out loud. What they didn't expect was that Naruto anticipated Sakura's use of her senbon needles. So he quickly made an exploding clone and shunshined to the rock that was blown into deep into the forest from his wind attack. I warned them to take this new Naruto more serious and that there's more to him than he lets on, Shino remarked. You bastard, Naruto cursed at Naruto, I'll get you for hurting Sakura-chan and the others. Kage Bushin no Jutsu. Naruto summoned 8 solid clones and surrounded Naruto with them. Futon, Arkuruyokaze, Naruto said as he focused his wind element and created a dust storm, blinding Lee, Naruto and his clones as they were forced to shield their eyes. Moments later, the dust storm died down and cleared, revealing that Naruto was no longer in sight. Where did he go? One of the clones asked as they looked around. He disappeared, another clone said. I really doubt that, one the clones said before thought came to mind, wait. He could be amongst one of us in henge form. You. Naruto and the clones turned to look at each other suspiciously. How do we know you are not the imposter? One of the clones accused the other. I can ask the same of you, the other shot back. The clones started arguing before fighting amongst themselves. Naruto tried to break them up only get caught up in the ruckus. Naruto-kun's, Lee called out as he hurried over to the quarreling group, this isn't the time to become unyouthful amongst ourselves. Lee was pushed away by the arguing clones. Fed up with them, Naruto dispelled the clones, leaving himself and Lee alone on the field. He escaped, Naruto said seconds before he was kneecapped hard to the gut. Naruto doubled over and was elbowed to the back and onto the ground on his chest by Lee. Naruto wheezed from having the breath knocked out of him and having his back struck. He held his stomach in pain after being assaulted by Lee. What gives fuzzy brows? Naruto asked with a confused look. It's me. I'm the real Naruto. Yes, Naruto-kun, Lee agreed before puffing into smoke and changing back to normal, we are indeed. N. Naruto punched his right fist into the ground and pulled out the unconscious Lee whom he took out and buried in the ground in the dust storm he stirred up earlier. Naruto's eyes widened upon seeing Naruto standing over him with Lee in his grasp. Your clones were correct in asserting that I was in henge form, Naruto said, however I counted on them in assuming that I'd be hiding as one of them while least expecting that I was disguised as Lee of all people. Damn. This guy is good, Naruto admired, from the way he's fighting and beating us, I must really be something in the world he's from. Meanwhile, Asuma and Kurane regrouped with Hinata, Kiba, Shino, and Niji. That guy is no genin nor do I believe he's a Chiryunin, Asuma realized. He's strategically decreasing our numbers, Shino acknowledged. Do any of you have any suggestions? Asked Kiba. I have a suggestion, a new voice said from behind, causing everyone to turn to the owner of the voice, you can die. Chapter 62, Leviathan. Meanwhile on the battlefield. N. Naruto stood over Naruto with the unconscious Lee in his right hand. The older blonde laid Lee down next to the immobilized blonde genin as he knelt down on his left knee to face his alter ego. You and your friends are competent ninjas, little brother, and Naruto smiled at Naruto, despite what Daisuke told you earlier today, I personally don't see things entirely the way he said them, especially since this isn't my world. Where are you getting at it? Naruto asked sourly, aren't you our enemy? Far from it, and Naruto replied, I'm a Konoha shinobi in my world also. Then why did you fight us? Naruto asked angrily, why didn't you just agree to come back with us? As you saw earlier, and Naruto explained, your Jounin senseis were already temperamental about me, especially after the stunt Daisuke pulled before you guys got here and they were hell-bent in bringing me back for further interrogations. I didn't want to be arrested and have my mind read. There are some secrets about me I don't want to be made known or public. Beside the fact that you're a Jin hierarchy and also have the Kyuubi sealed inside you like me, Naruto asked. That's an S-class secret, and Naruto clarified, there's another secret about me that's SS class. You're joking, right? Naruto remarked. No, and Naruto replied, like I said, there are some things about me I don't want to be made known. And the fact that I and 3 others are in this world already places me, them, and my summoner at risk. The jutsu used to bring us to this world was a jutsu that was never to be used again. In truth, I and the 3 kunoichis with me aren't supposed to be here. Who's the holder of this jutsu? Naruto asked. Does your summoner have anything planned against Konoha? No, and Naruto assured, nothing of that nature. So you and your friends don't have to worry about that. Plus, I'm sincerely sorry for Daisuke's actions. What are you talking about? Naruto remarked with a perplexed expression, weren't you Daisuke the entire time? Rurouni no Daisuke was not an actual person, and Naruto elaborated, earlier today, the seal that was used to bring me and my 3 friends to this world somehow malfunctioned and probed deep into my mind. That seal overwhelmed all the safeguards I built to control the power of my mind, including my dark and focal ninja characteristics and ideals, the types that live within us shinobis. With those safeguards that control them ripped away, that harsh concentrated side of my nature came forth determined to carry out objectives he believed should be done according to his own will, doing so without any regards to the opinions and feelings of those he came across in this reality. Daisuke lacked my other essential qualities, which includes compassion, empathy, and understanding. His existence was based exclusively on the way of the ninja, being completely emotionally detached. From the things I saw earlier in this world when I first came here disguised as you, I saw and experienced things that left me confused, angry, disgusted and distraught. Not used to the treatment I received from the villagers, Daisuke adamantly sought to fix things his way. He approached Kano Amaru and offered him training in exchange for information the boy knew about your life, even if it was limited. Please don't hold it too much against Kano Amaru, he only thought that he was helping a very close friend and brother figure in you. I was never angry at Kano Amaru to begin with, Naruto said, just that cold-hearted inner jerk that came out of you. Ignoring his remark, and Naruto continued, in the weakened and vulnerable state that I was in, I couldn't control Daisuke so long as that malfunctioned seal was still operating. I believe someone must have found and corrected the seal, which teleported me to where Daisuke was and merged us back to normal. Only a true seal master could do such a thing, therefore the one responsible for fixing that seal must be alert to my presence in this world. So all those things Daisuke said of me, Sasuke and Sakura-chan, Naruto asked. There was a momentary silence between the two blondes. After gathering his thoughts, the older blonde took a breath, trying to be as honest as possible. Understand me please little bro, and Naruto said, I'm not here to impose my will upon you and the others, nor am I here to tell you how you ought to live your life regardless what Daisuke believed and said to you and Kano Amaru. This isn't my world nor is your life my life. We're two different people with different beliefs and upbringings. In spite of the opinions I hold about Sasuke and Sakura in this world, however, I can't nor will I force you to accept them since I never lived your life, and likewise you never lived mine. It wouldn't be fair of me to tell you how you ought to live your dreams based on experiences I had that you don't understand. It still stands though that I don't share your attachments or sentiments you have for Sasuke, but unlike Daisuke, I'll respect them if that much. That's fair enough, Naruto admitted and then asked, but what about Sakura-chan? She's your teammate and fellow shinobi, and Naruto said, and very much like the Sakura from my universe. Why don't you like Sakura-chan? Naruto asked. I know she's not perfect, but she's not all that bad as Daisuke made her out to be. Don't get me wrong little brother, and Naruto said, I don't hate her and she is trying to become a better kunoichi and medicnin like the Sakura from my world. But I personally don't take too kindly to being insulted by girls with violent tempers who think they can have their way with me. And in terms of girlfriend material, I'm not here to tell you exactly who you ought to go out with. However, I will say that you shouldn't be afraid to widen out and broaden your horizons in meeting and getting to know different females. Who knows, maybe one might surprise you in sharing our love for ramen. Share our love for ramen, Naruto remarked with a wide grin, that sounds more like the ideal girl. Still, and Naruto continued, I'd like to know and learn more about you and what life had to be like for you growing up, seeing that there's so little I understand. Though I'm a fellow Jinhyuriki, however, I never lived life as an outcast, so it was hard for me to relate to you, just like it was hard for me to relate to Gaara. If you're willing to share your experiences with me, little brother, you can help me better understand you and perhaps I can better understand myself. So what do you say? Can we be friends, little brother? The younger blonde found himself smiling his trademark fox grin at his older counterpart. You bet. Maybe you can tell me some things about yourself also and those cool jutsus you used. Naruto smiled and nodded when suddenly an explosion of some kind was kind. The hell, and Naruto yelled as he and Naruto turned to the source of the explosion, your friends are in trouble. I can see that, Naruto replied as he pulled himself together and stood back up, though still sore from his alter ego's previous attack. Help your friends I took out while I deal with this new threat, and Naruto said as he hurried over to where the others were. In the forest. Kurane, her team, Asuma, and Niji were up against a towering 7-foot-tall humanoid shinobi crocodile. A/N, think of lizard from Spider-Man, except with crocodile spikes around its body and tail. This new foe was both deadly and fast with a body that was hard to penetrate. Niji's wounded right arm was being treated by Hinata after he was bitten. The Hyuga prodigy attempted to shut off the creature's tenketsus and nearly lost both of his arms attempting to do so. Shino lost a number of his Kikai bugs after a failed attempt to tear through the mutated crocodile's thick armor-like scales. The creature unleashed a vicious spinning attack that killed a portion of Shino's bugs and injured Shino himself on top of that. The reptilian monster was too fast for Kurane to trap in a genjutsu, and she took a smack and injury to her left leg from his spiky tail. Asuma and Kiba were doing what they could to hold the creature off from their wounded comrades, but things weren't going in their favor. "That creature is very tough opponent," Niji said as he winced from the pain. "I couldn't penetrate any of his tenketsus." "Try not to move, Naizen," Hinata insisted as she cleaned and bandaged his wound. Just then Asuma and Kiba came flying in, crashing down where the two Hyuga genins were. Both Jounin and Genin sustained several injuries from their battle with the creature and additional injuries from their crash-landing impact. "Kiba-kun, Asuma-sensei," Hinata called out in great worry. The two staggered to get back up despite their injuries. The creature moved in closer and stood over the group. "You guys are putting up more of a fight than the last meals I've had in this forest," the creature remarked, "but there'll be no escape from Leviathan." Excuse me," a voice cut in from behind Leviathan. The creature turned to see Naruto's fist punch strike him in the face with a strong force as he was sent flying through a series of trees through the forest and into a boulder, creating a crater into it before falling to the ground motionless. Hinata, Niji and the others were gaping with mouths and eyes wide open like dish plates, being too shocked by what they saw. "He has Tsunade-sama's insane strength," Kiba said, stating the obvious, "one hit and you're dead." "Exactly how strong is this new Naruto?" Niji asked aloud. "It would be safe to assume that during his fight with us," Shino deduced, "he's been using non-lethal force to take us down." "I hate to admit this," Kiba said, "but I think you're right." Turning to the group, and Naruto went to check on them, "You guys alright? You attacked and beat the hell out of us and now you're asking if we're alright," Kiba snorted. "Would you rather I had stayed out of the way while Leviathan had its way with you guys?" And Naruto shot back. Kiba was about to say something when "Naruto-kun," a feminine voice called out. Everyone turned to see Hinata, and Ino and Temari arrive on the way. "What the?" Kiba shouted, "You mean you weren't the only one who was summoned to this world?" "Long story," and Naruto replied as the three girls made their way over to him. "You're awake and back to yourself, Naruto-kun," and Ino smiled and caressed his face. "Are you alright now?" "Super," and Naruto remarked before, "Look out." N. Naruto grabbed all three girls when a blast of organic acid was sprayed at them. The acid struck one of the trees and dissolved it enough to cause it to collapse to the ground. The girls paled momentarily when they saw what could have happened to them had their lover not got them out of the way in time. They turned to see a smaller version of Leviathan facing them that stood over 6 feet. "Another one," and Naruto said, stating the obvious. "Hopefully," and Hinata added, "there aren't any more of them besides this one and the big one you took out." "One is already too much," and Naruto remarked, "You three girls deal with this one and help the others, while I deal with the larger one that ambushed the others a moment ago." N. Naruto hurried through the wreckage of fallen trees he made after punching Leviathan. The smaller reptilian creature looked back at the girls darkly. "I'm going to eat and dissolve the flesh off your bones," the reptilian creature said as it held out its claws at them. Ino and Hinata readied to fight as Temari pulled out her fan and spread it open. "Bring it. We've been meaning to have new belts for ourselves." Meanwhile, upon his arrival, Naruto found that the creature was gone. "Shit, it escaped," and Naruto cursed as he searched around for the creature. It was long until the creature's spiky tail came swinging swiftly at his face. Naruto ducked, narrowly avoided the spikes of the tail slashing the flesh off his face. Leviathan leaped from the bushes and stood before Naruto. "Namikaze," Leviathan grinned sinisterly, "I've been meaning to find you. Orochimaru-sama sends you his regards." "What did you say?" Naruto said cautiously with narrowed eyes. "I killed Orochimaru." "Really?" Leviathan taunted, "I recalled how you escaped Death's grip in your last battle with my master. Surely you didn't think Orochimaru-sama wouldn't have a fallback plan in case his others failed, did you? How did you follow me to this world, and how was it that Orochimaru survived an attack that clearly ended his life?" "Aren't you nosy?" Leviathan mocked as he charged at the now angered Namikaze. Not in the mood to waste time and play around with the creature, and Naruto evaded and parried every attack, tail swipe and claw slashes Leviathan threw at him. How did he survive? And Naruto asked heatedly as he found an opening and implanted his fist into the creature's gut, hard. Leviathan coughed out blood from its mouth from the sheer impact of his fist. Tell me, Naruto demanded. Never, Leviathan spat back before trying to take a bite out of Naruto's head. The elite Jounin grabbed its jaw as the creature pressed down on him, using all of his strength to reach his head. I don't have time to waste on the likes of you, Naruto said as he charged the creature and body crashed him through a tree that was close by. Leviathan got on both his hands and feet focused chakra into his body. The Rokudaime in training watched as the creature grew in size and strength. Oh great, Naruto growled as Leviathan chuckled sinisterly as a large 30-foot-long crocodile. You won't get much from me except the far end of my teeth gnawing on your bones, Leviathan growled as it charged at Naruto. It snapped its mouth at the blonde seeking to catch him in its oral grip. Naruto speedily moved out of the way as the creature crunched its mouth onto the tree Naruto stood in front of. Leviathan tore the tree off from its foundation and swung it at Naruto. The blonde punched the tree to pieces, leaving the tree stump remaining in the creature's mouth. The creature swung and threw the stump at Naruto's direction as it rushed at the blonde. Naruto moved to the left avoiding being hit by the stump as Leviathan plunged and tunneled into the ground. The hell, Naruto said as heard tunneling noises from under the ground. Silence soon consumed the area as Naruto looked around for the creature. Barefooted, Naruto stealthily moved around on the dirt-covered ground with the monster nowhere in sight. Where are you? Naruto said slowly while keeping his guard up for a possible surprise attack. A moment later, the ground burst open in back of him. Naruto turned in time to grab the tail that nearly impaled itself through him. Leviathan though burst forth from behind Naruto and caught him in its mouth. Naruto cried from the pain of Leviathan's sharp teeth crushing down on his body. The blonde was struggling to break free from Leviathan's hold. I'm going to enjoy savoring the taste of you, Namikaze, Leviathan said as he pressed his teeth deeper into Naruto, for to see the blonde lose color before bursting into mud, what? Leviathan spat the mud from out of its mouth. Naruto came charging in from behind and raced through a set of hand seals. Doton, Doryu Taiga, Naruto said as the ground from underneath Leviathan melted into a running river of mud. Unable to get a strong grip of the surface, the monster reptile was pushed away with a strong force from the currents of the flowing mud. It managed to stop its momentum in time to see Naruto perform additional hand signs. Doton, Doryudan, Naruto said as a dragon's head made from the flowing mud emerged and fired a series of hardened mud rockets at Leviathan. Quickly doing another set of hand signs, Naruto said, Katon, Karyudan. Fire burst forth from Naruto's mouth and streamed swiftly over to the mud rockets, combining with them to form one attack. The fused elemental attacks blasted upon Leviathan's form, blowing off chunks of scales and flesh that were consumed by the fire. As the fire cleared away, a burned and battered Leviathan growled and roared beastly before coming at the blonde with a rage despite its injuries. He's still able to fight, Naruto noted with shock. Leviathan swiped its spiky tail at the blonde who ducked underneath it and then jumped over it as it came at him again. Hurrying to the reptilian beast, Naruto assaulted it with a strong punch to its guts, sending Leviathan skidding off the ground before coming to a crashing stop into one of the trees in its path. Naruto carefully made his way over to Leviathan as it gradually stood back up. The mutant reptile shrunk down to its previous size and came at the elite Jounin with a fury. Naruto dodged many of Leviathan's attacks all the while seeing Leviathan healing from the wounds Naruto would inflict on it. Shit, Naruto cursed in frustration, he heals as fast as I'm hitting him. It's fun fighting you and seeing your dismay and your incapacity to do me serious harm, Leviathan taunted. So you feel nothing from any of my attacks, Naruto implied. Oh, I do feel the experience of pain, Leviathan replied, but it's much unlike how you humans handle them. You see, I have the ability to move my brain and vital organs wherever I please. Leviathan demonstrated by shifting his heart of a few of his other organs around his body before return back to his original appearance. When I see your attacks coming, I simply adjust and reconfigure my internal makeup so that all you hit are scales and flesh. It makes hurting me very complicated, especially since you don't have the Byakugan. I don't have time to waste on you, and Naruto said as he took a moment to come up with a plan to stop the creature before it could do further harm to anyone else. That though was interrupted as Leviathan launched itself at Naruto. The Jounin evaded the slashed but was struck from the side by its tail, resulting in 3 bleeding slash marks appearing on his left arm. Damn you, and Naruto cursed as he pulled back momentarily to heal his arm. The creature though wasn't about to have the blonde have his way in doing so when it raised its raised arm out and extended its clawed fingers into Naruto. The 5 tentacle claws impaled into Naruto's chest, tearing through flesh and bones. The blonde Rokudaime in training bit down a scream of pain that wanted to escape his throat. He grabbed the tentacles and pulled Leviathan over to him. Upon reaching him, Naruto delivered a solid punch to the creature's face, sending him flying from him. Naruto though pulled him back to him again, and this delivered a swift swing kick to the beast before releasing the tentacles that now came out of him as Leviathan went skidding and crashing down onto the ground. Naruto took the moment to heal himself as fast as possible before being assaulted again. The wounds weren't closing as fast as he would have liked. By now you can see that you don't have ordinary wounds, Leviathan pointed out. My claws were laced with toxic venom which will circulate through your body and in time kill you. Well, it won't be the first time I died, and Naruto grunted before feeling Kyuubi's chakra entering where his wounds were and ridding his body of the venom he was poisoned with, gradually allowing his wounds to heal. Leviathan was healing and pulling itself back together before standing back up on its 2 feet. You can hit me all you like, Leviathan said, but it won't help to change anything. I'll just come right back. The creature laughed at the blonde as the elite Jounin quietly allowed his wounds to close up. Elsewhere. Naruto's girls were having their fair share in battling Leviathan's smaller and elusive doppelganger. They had several close calls in almost being hit by his acidic spits and poison's clawed tentacle fingers. Tamari's wind jutsus played their part in keeping the doppelganger at bay, but only for so long. Like the original, it was able to move its brain and vital organs around its body, and it didn't stand around long enough to give Hinata and Ino an opportunity to double team and do serious damage to it. We have to take that creature out and fast, Hinata said. I don't know for how much longer we can keep this up. He's fast and hard to pin down without the risk of being bitten, poisoned, or torn apart, and Tamari added. We have to find some way to immobilize it long enough to take it down, Ino suggested. How will we accomplish that? Hinata asked. Tamari was quiet for a moment as she went to possible ways for killing the creature before their chakra reserves ran out. After 3 minutes an idea came to her. I have an idea, Tamari said, but we'll only get 1 shot to make it count, so there's no room for mistakes. I'm up for anything useful you have to offer, Ino said. What's your plan? Hinata inquired. Tamari briefed them quickly and just in time as the reptilian doppelganger came at them again. Let's do this, Ino shouted as the creature made its way to Hinata, who stood where she was unaware of the hand signs Ino was making. Just as the creature thrust out its arms and extended its tentacles, Hinata darted away at the last second, narrowly missing being facially impaled by the creature as its tentacles rammed and impaled themselves through the tree behind Hinata. Shinten Shin no Jutsu, Ino said as she transferred her mind into the trapped creature as her body fell to the ground. While inside the mind of the doppelganger, she hurriedly disabled it, knocking its mind out. Seeing her chance, Hinata activated her bloodline limit, rushing and attacking vital tenketsus in its body, damaging its chakra coils and causing organ failures as she attacked them as well, right as Ino escaped from out of the body and back into hers. Hinata pulled back and got to a safe distance with Ino, allowing Tamari to finish the job. Dekameitake no Jutsu, Tamari yelled as she used her large fan to create and focus slicing whirlwinds against the weakened creature. The doppelganger was brutally assaulted and torn by the wind-based attack. Overwhelmed by the severity of all 3 attacks, the smaller version of Leviathan collapsed dead to the ground. The girls approached the creature and made sure it was dead. I see no trace of chakra or a heartbeat, Hinata confirmed as she scanned its body. We officially killed it. What the hell was that thing? Tamari asked aloud. Who knows, Ino remarked. I just hope there aren't more of those damn things. Kurane and her team and Niji went over to the 3 girls. Good work in taking out that creature, Niji complimented. Your teamwork and plan of execution were rather impressive. Thank you, and Hinata replied, "How's your arm?" "Still in place thankfully," Niji said. Naruto approached them seeing that they got through removing the threat. "You three were amazing," Naruto complimented. "I wasn't sure how you guys were going to deal with whatever that thing was. Our Naruto-kun trained and taught us how we can complement each other's unique abilities as a fighting team," and Temari said with a smirk, "Together we're a force to be reckoned with." Speaking of the other Naruto-kun, Hinata spoke up, "Isn't he still fighting that larger monster?" In the meantime, with most of his injuries healed up, and Naruto continued his battle with Leviathan, and so far they were at a stalemate. The area where they were fighting suffered extensive landscape damages and a number of trees were either destroyed or uprooted. The drawn-out battle was proving to be agitating for the blonde, and frankly he had enough of the monster. After catching his breath, and Naruto prepared to fight the creature again. Before he could, Leviathan picked up on new scents that entered the area. "Children," Leviathan smiled sinisterly as he turned to the source of the scent, which turned out to be Kano Amaru, Mogi and Udon from a distance. Transforming back into a giant crocodile, Leviathan rushed at them. "I love children," Leviathan drooled hungrily as it trembled down whatever was in its way like a raging tank. "Run!" Kano Amaru yelled urgently as he, Mogi and Udon turned to run as fast as their feet could carry them. Leviathan closed in on them just as Mogi tripped and fell to the ground. Mogi, Kano Amaru, and Udon cried out as they turned back to aid their friend as Leviathan prepared to bite down on the young girl who now had a look of panic and terror as the crocodile monster lunged at her. "Female children always have the most tender taste and feeling on the teeth," Leviathan remarked hungrily. "I'll start with you." Mogi screamed and shielded herself, preparing for the worst. Leviathan snapped its mouth at Mogi, but it didn't do any harm to the girl. Its teeth were mere millimeters away from the skin of her face when it came to an abrupt stop. It turned to see Naruto holding it back by its tail. "I had just about enough of you," Naruto declared as he pulled and threw Leviathan high into the air. There Naruto shunshined to it and delivered a brutal roundhouse kick to it, sending it flying through the air and deeper into the forest. It didn't get far as Naruto shunshined over to where it was, and before it could reach the ground, Naruto appeared on top of it and drove it hard into the ground with a strong punch to its guts. The blonde jumped from off it and flipped away from it, making a small distance from the monster crocodile. Moments later, Leviathan slowly rose from the crater and stood back up as it transformed back to his humanoid form. Naruto stood upright to see the creature gradually heal itself again. "You still failed to hit my vitals," Leviathan grinned. "The Hyuga boy himself couldn't do much to hurt me even with his Byakugan. You're fighting a losing battle. I'll just heal from all the punches, kicks, and stab wounds you'll give me." The killer mutant crocodile was confident in its healing factors, sure that it had the fight won. And Naruto decided to break his brief silence. "You know, I thought about what you said, and you're right. Without Byakugan there's no way I can tell where your vitals are hiding," Naruto stated as then he focused and flared chakra around his arms and fists, "so I'll just slash and smash everything all at once." "And how do you plan to dash?" 2 minutes earlier, Naruto, Kurane, and her team and Niji were hurrying over to where they saw Leviathan and Naruto battling it out. Asuma found Kano Amaru and his 2 friends and brought them back to where the others were recuperating and being checked up on by Naruto's girls. After seeing the direction Naruto kicked Leviathan through the air and back into forest, they followed the path hoping to provide additional fighting power to take Leviathan down. That was when a few moments later, a ground-shaking impact occurred that rocked the forest. The tremor sent everyone off their feet to the ground and many birds flying from the trees into the air and other smaller animals running from where the impact occurred. "That can't be good," Kiba remarked as he and the rest with him were getting back off the ground. Naruto said, "That could be Leviathan's doing." "I somehow doubt that," Shino commented after seeing Naruto's abilities till now. The group hurried to the scene and found a shocking sight. There was a huge crater with several trees all around the crater knocked from off their foundations. Inside and in the center of the crater was Naruto, who stood over the fallen and inhumanly beaten and bleeding Leviathan with cold ocean blue eyes staring down at it. Leviathan lied motionless on its back, overwhelmingly broken, bleeding, and indescribably mangled after Naruto got through crushing and tearing through muscles, bones, nerves, spinal cord, and several organs. Its eyes were left wide open as though it was in shock from the sheer intensity of Naruto's vicious attack. Fusing Hiraishin, Godame-like strength, and chakra scalpels proved to be beyond what Leviathan was realistically able to handle. The creature, despite its still opened eyes, wasn't conscious due to the extreme shock its brain suffered as a result of Naruto's last attack. "What the hell?" Kiba remarked. And Naruto looked up at the group with the same eye and facial expression, causing the group to shudder and involuntarily take a few steps back from the crater. Those eyes belong to ninjas who've seen things beyond death and back. Kurane tried to suppress her growing fear of Naruto while wondering who this supposed seal master was that summoned him and how he was able to control such a powerful ninja. Hinata looked at the older blonde with emotions of shock and fear. Shino's eyebrows were raised at the Leviathan's appalling disfigured sight. Niji was holding his stomach in after seeing the creature's condition. Naruto didn't know what to think. He was scared at the present sight of Leviathan, but at the same time his admiration for Naruto grew. Grabbing its tail, Naruto dragged and hauled the creature from out of the crater with a trail of blood following behind it. He looked to see the group looking at him. They noticed the blood on Naruto's shirt but found no wound or any other injury on him whatsoever. "We were hard-pressed fighting that guy," Kiba said, "and here it is that this new Naruto came and single-handedly beat it to within an inch of its life," and Naruto added as he reached the group. What? Kurane said with realization, "You mean that thing is still alive?" "He'll no longer pose as a threat to anyone," and Naruto assured, "its body is far too broken for its healing abilities to handle. Even if he could heal, its spinal cord and nerve endings which I severely damaged are impossible to heal with medic ninjutsu of any level." "Then why don't you just kill it and put it out of its misery?" Niji asked. "He has answers to questions I seek," and Naruto replied. "He won't be talking anytime soon," Naruto remarked, "if at all." "Don't worry about that," and Naruto assured as he continued dragging Leviathan, "I already have that issue covered." Seeing the horrid condition of the creature's body up close, the group knew that no ordinary ninja could have done this much damage in such a very short time. "How exactly did you beat Leviathan?" Kurane asked. "We were approaching and getting close to where both you and Leviathan were fighting. From our earlier fight with Leviathan, we barely did much harm to it. But mere moments before we caught up with you, you somehow pulverized the creature in a very short time." "How I did it is not important," and Naruto remarked. "What's important is the information I have to extract from out of him." "You know interrogation techniques," Shino acknowledged. And Naruto nodded. "He's from my universe and somehow he teleported with me and the girls." Through a long-lost and forgotten jutsu, a new voice spoke up. Everyone turned to see Jiraiya standing beside a tree nearby. "Arrow-jisen," and Naruto said out of force of habit, causing everyone to raise their eyebrows. "Arrow-jisen," Naruto repeated quizzically. Seeing his blunder, and Naruto sighed, "I'll explain later." Naruto summoned a 31 Bushins and handed Leviathan over to one of them. "Take and detain it," and Naruto instructed, "make sure it doesn't die before I can interrogate it." The clone nodded as it went on its way from the group, disappearing quickly into the forest before it shunshined from the area. Turning to the remaining clones, and Naruto instructed, "For the rest of you, your job is thoroughly sanitizing the entire area for Leviathan's blood trails and whatever other remains of Leviathan are left. Make sure nothing is left behind." The clones nodded and henged into different-looking people of various ages from man, woman, and children. Given their instructions, they went off to complete the task they were summoned for. Jiraiya looked at Naruto with eyes of fascination. Like the others, he too had many questions for the elite Jounin. "Hokuseki Senshi," Jiraiya said, earning everyone's attention as they turned to him, "I heard many stories about that ancient summoning jutsu, most of which are steeped in the blood of the slaughtered." "Well," and Naruto said, "let's not talk here. It would be best to regroup with the others and bring Kano Amaru and his friends with us, seeing that they saw and know too much as it is." The others nodded before returning to where the rest of the group were at. Returning, he found his 3 girls. Upon their arrival, they found that the smaller version of Leviathan was already dead. And Hinata and the other 2 girls were checking on the rest of the Konohanins after gathering their unconscious forms together under shaded trees. "Is everyone accounted for?" and Naruto asked, gaining his girls, Asuma, Kano Amaru, and his 2 friends' attention. We're all here, Naruto-kun, and Temari nodded. Any serious injuries? And Naruto asked. You besides the ones you personally inflicted on them, and Ino remarked, only to receive a shrug from her lover. Nyakan, Mogi said to the older Naruto. The blonde turned to the young girl who went over to him and bowed to him, thank you for saving my life and the lives of my friends from that monster. Kano Amaru and Udon also went and thanked him in the same like manner. You're welcome, and Naruto accepted before he went over to where the smaller Leviathan was. Picking up its tail, and Naruto dragged it away from the group and trees. When he was in the clearing at the rocky side of the river away from the trees, he performed a couple of hand seals and Katon, Ryu and Dan, and Naruto said before taking in a large gasp of breath and blowing fire upon the dead creature, burning its body to ashes. After it was completely burned, he used his wind element to blow the ashes into the river, washing away any traces of the burnt creature. With that task done, he returned to the group and began healing everyone's injuries. The Konoha group was silent as they didn't know what to say to Naruto and the girls with him. Naruto looked upon his older alter ego in awe and admiration. There were a number of questions they wanted to ask him and so many things they wanted to know from him. They'll regain consciousness soon, and Naruto assured before turning to Jiraiya, all of their injuries have been fully healed and mended. You're quite the shinobi Gaki, Jiraiya remarked. I had very good teachers and parents, and Naruto replied. Parents, Naruto repeated, you had parents, you know who our parents are. Jiraiya started sweating, seeing that this could be trouble. Before the Sunin could intervene. Foster parents, and Naruto said, I was raised by foster parents all my life. The older blonde saw some measures of happiness, sadness, and jealousy mixed together in Naruto's eyes. I know all of you have many questions for us, and Naruto said, but the girls and I can't answer them here or within Konoha's walls. Tell Kaa-chan dash. Who's Kaa-chan? Naruto asked. And Naruto smacked himself in the forehead realizing his own blunder, the one you refer to as, Baa-chan. What, Jiraiya pieced together, you mean Tsunadeheim raised you? All my life, and Naruto confirmed, and you are my pervy uncle and somewhat father figure. Kakashi and Shizune are like my older siblings. Now everyone wanted to hear this, especially Naruto. They started shooting a series of questions at him all at once. And Naruto had to quiet them down, not wanting to answer their questions just yet. Like I was saying, and Naruto said, tell your Hokage and Shizune Nichan to meet me and the rest of you guys tomorrow around this time at Sector No Return. Asuma and Kurane felt cold chills run down their spines, knowing about the infamous reputation of that sector of the Forest of Death. Jiraiya too was very familiar with that sector. Why there? Jiraiya inquired. That's where the girls and I are taking temporary residence, and Naruto replied, meet me at the entrance of that sector and one of my Kage Bushins will escort and guide you all to where we're staying at. And make sure no one else know of this meeting. Kano Amaru, Udon, and Mogi may come too. They can't, Asuma protested heatedly, I won't risk their safety in that forest and dash. You have worser things to fear in that forest than the monsters and beasts living there, and Naruto interjected. Like what? Asuma asked. Like us, and Naruto remarked referring to himself and his girls, I assure you, nothing will happen to the children. After all, you should have a measure of reassurance seeing that the girls and I are temporarily residing there in that sector. What are they? Kurane said in an undertone unknown to herself. What was that remark? And Temari asked while holding her fan with narrowed eyes. We'd appreciate if you don't insult us under your breath, Kurane-san, and Hinata said in a respectful yet firm tone. Niji, Kurane, and Hinata were taken aback by this new Hinata's conduct. Her aura alone was enough to tell the female Jounin that this other Hinata wasn't like the one she looks at as a daughter. I apologize, Kurane said with a low bow. The Genins and Jounins saw that and Naruto's girls were very unlike the ones they came to know. These girls gave off similar auras and Naruto gave. That was when they finally noticed the Konoha insignia around Temari's neck. Before any of the Genins could question Temari about it. Very well, Asuma reluctantly agreed after seeing Naruto's point, we agree to your terms. Turning to Jiraiya, Naruto said, you were the one who corrected the seal I assume. I came across it on the way here back to Konoha, Jiraiya said, That seal was a most complex one if I ever say so, despite how sloppy parts of its designs were drawn. Where's this seal located? Kurenai asked. It's best if that's kept secret, Jiraiya said. There's a reason why that seal was never used again. I had to conceal where that seal was before anyone else saw it. We'll meet with the older Gaki at when and where he told us to. Thank you, and Naruto said as he turned to his girls, Hina-chan, Ino-chan, Tima-chan, move out. The girls nodded and gathered around Entamari. Using her fan, she flapped it and performed a wind and sand shunshin, departing from the area with Ino and Hinata with her. And Naruto was about to leave when... Hey, you, Naruto called out to his counterpart, I have a question for you. Naruto turned to him and asked, yes little brother. What's a clitoris? You, Naruto inquired, you mentioned it in that story you gave us earlier. Jiraiya burst out laughing on hearing that while holding his stomach. Kurenai and Hinata were blushing in pure embarrassment, and Kurenai herself was tempted to smack Yu Naruto for asking such a question despite his naivete. Neji, Asuma, and Shino shook their heads while Kiba was cracking up. Grinning, and Naruto replied, it's a special and very sensitive muscle unique only to human females as an Adam's apple is to human males. Kurenai appreciated Naruto's tasteful approach to the question, though she was still angry at him for what he did earlier. Oh, you, Naruto said as he turned and looked at Hinata, so that means you have one too, huh? Now Naruto burst out laughing at his alter ego's stupidity. Jiraiya and Kiba only laughed harder while Neji frowned daggers at Yu Naruto. Kurenai couldn't believe what she was hearing and seeing. Hinata's shock and embarrassment only worsened from being asked such a question in front of the few present. Why, yes, Hinata choked. Cool. Can I see it? Yu Naruto asked, totally unaware of what his question entailed. Jiraiya and Kiba at this point fell to their hands and knees as tears of laughter fell from their eyes. They were practically gasping for air as their laughter continued. Hinata's face turned a shade of red no one thought was humanly possible, and the fact that part of her was tempted to comply and lead him behind the bushes out of sight to answer his question caused a few droplets of blood to seep down her nose before she fainted. Asuma was biting his tongue down and fought to keep a straight face, though a few chuckles escaped his throat. Kurenai turned and glared heatedly at her boyfriend, who gulped and cowered like a scared animal. Was it something I said? Yu Naruto asked cluelessly while scratching the back of his head. Idiot, a flustered Kurenai muttered. Naruto was fighting to regain control of his own laughter and soon managed to regain control over it. Read up on the human anatomy at the library and you'll have a better understanding about it, Naruto, Naruto suggested, and when you do, little brother, you should never ask a female that question again. I'll see you all tomorrow. Make sure you're not followed. With that, Naruto shunshined from them to catch up to his girls, leaving the group with their thoughts. By that time Jiraiya and Kiba eventually calmed their laughter down enough to get serious. Let's wrap this up, Jiraiya said, we can't talk here. What hit me? Kakashi said as he woke and gradually stood back up. A moment later, Guy, Shikamaru and the other genins who were unconscious woke up, except for the still red-faced Hinata. That other Naruto beat and knocked you all out and healed all of your injuries, Neji stated. Kakashi and the others didn't know how to respond to that. Before any of them could. We have much preparation to do, Jiraiya said, seeing that you're all awake now, it'd save us the trouble of carrying all of you back. Let's return to the Hokage Tower now. There's much we must discuss with Tsunadeheim. Where's that other Naruto? Kakashi asked. We'll discuss that later, Jiraiya said firmly, let's return to the tower now. It was rare to see Jiraiya like this. The Jounins knew that this was going to be a serious mission when Tsunade assigned the task of capturing Daisuke, but now things became more complicated with everything that's happened thus far. Without further delay, they followed the Toad Sage back to Konoha. Yu Naruto volunteered to carry Hinata back since he was responsible for making her faint. Sadly, that was a pleasure the Hyuga heiress would later regret not being awake to fully enjoy and appreciate. When Sakura asked what happened that led to Hinata's unconscious state, no one bothered to answer her question, especially since she'd have beaten Naruto into an unconscious bloody heap, thus resulting in additional weight to carry back which no one wanted. Jumping to the trees, the Konohanins started on their way back to the village. While on their way, something came to Yu Naruto's mind. Kakashi-sensei, Naruto asked. Kakashi muttered. Earlier you mistaken my older counterpart with this Minato-sensei person, Naruto recalled. Jiraiya turned to the Cyclops ninja while hiding his true expression. Shikamaru, being the closest one next to Naruto, overheard the conversation between the two ninjas. He reminded me of a ghost from my past, Kakashi replied, keeping a straight face. That's all. Who was this Minato person from your past? Naruto asked. From the way you were looking at the other me, it was as though he was a long-lost friend. Jiraiya saw that this could be trouble. I'd rather not talk about it, Naruto, Kakashi said, hoping to close the discussion. The topic about Minato-sensei is a rather sensitive topic to me. It's that serious, huh? Naruto figured. If you don't want to talk about it, then I won't try to force it out of you. I truly appreciate that, Kakashi nodded before the group continued on their trek back to Konoha. Jiraiya knew that Kakashi truly screwed up big time, but he decided not to voice it just yet. Shikamaru on the other hand saw that Kakashi knew and was hiding something. He saw from Kakashi's expression after first seeing Naruto that the Jounin mistaken Naruto for his dead sensei. Come to think of it, Shikamaru contemplated, that other Naruto looked like a younger Yondaime without the facial whisker marks, which in turn means that Uzumaki Naruto will grow up to look like Yondaime as well. The gears in Shikamaru's head started turning as he now sought to piece together unexplained reasons for Naruto's strong resemblance to the late Yondaime and the fact that there might be possible connections between Yondaime and Naruto. Meanwhile, Naruto was back at the house with the girls. He was in the living room explaining everything that happened with regards to splitting with his embodied subconscious, Ranounin no Daisuke, Daisuke's interactions with Kano Amaru, the others, his fusing back with Daisuke and how he beat Leviathan. That's quite a tale, Naruto-kun, Ino said, all this happening all in one day. What will you do with Leviathan now? Temari asked. Probe his mind to see what I can find, Naruto said. He told me that Orochimaru sent him. The girls looked at Naruto in a stupefied disbelieving manner. That's impossible, Hinata replied. Orochimaru is dead. You killed him. Ino-chan, myself and many others eyewitnessed it. There's no way he could have survived and escaped from that Kinjutsu Oji you used on him. We won't get answers by arguing about this, Naruto said. I strongly believe that we'll get the answers from Leviathan itself. Ino-chan, your clan specializes in mind reading and temporarily controlling someone's body. You're experienced with that than I am, and my training with the Yamanaka clan's jutsus is far from finished. I'll require your expertise in helping me probe and divulge information from Leviathan's mind. He holds information that could threaten the safety of many back home if what he says about Orochimaru is true. I'll do my best, Ino said, ready and willing to get Naruto her fullest support. I'll help in whatever way I can. Hina-chan, Naruto turned to the Hyuga, your Byakugan will be most useful in monitoring Leviathan's vitals. We'll need you to stand by and keep watch over Leviathan and make sure his body doesn't shut down while Ino-chan and I are in him. If it does, we might end up trapped within that dead mind. I won't let you down, Naruto-kun, Hinata said. Tima-chan, Naruto said, with Ino-chan, Hina-chan and I occupied, you'll be our only line of defense, especially since neither Ino-chan and I won't have the capacity to defend ourselves physically while we're in Leviathan's mind. We'll need you as our means of protection. The feared second flash of Konoha in need of my protection, Temari teased. Now I know we're not home. Seriously, Tima-chan, Naruto snorted. You have my unwavering support, Naruto-kun, the Wind Mistress smiled. Great, Naruto nodded. Now let's get everything set up for the interrogation. It would be best if we rest first, Naruto-kun, Hinata suggested. We exhausted a large amount of chakra today and we could use a break right now. Naruto thought about what Hinata said. Taking the day's events into consideration, Naruto agreed, you're right. We'll perform the interrogations later this evening after everything has been prepared. The four of them went and got themselves cleaned and rested up with something to eat, preparing for a long night ahead of them. Chapter 63, The Meeting. In the forest. The Konohanins were making haste to the village, leaping from tree to tree. Naruto was still carrying Hinata on his back, who was still unconscious. While on their way, Kurane couldn't help but recall the look Naruto had on his face and the expression he had in his eyes after what he did to Leviathan. The thought alone oddly enough sent a cold chill down her back. And Naruto switched from being a shameless storytelling pervert to a sophisticated and strategic fighter to a potentially ruthless ninja. If what she saw from Leviathan's decrepit body was any testimony to what Naruto was truly capable of, one would rue the day having him for an enemy. Meanwhile, Shikamaru was contemplating on everything that's happened up to now. What he was now focusing on was the topic regarding both Minato and Naruto. It's strange, Shikamaru thought, now that I think about it, both Naruto and Minato have the same eye color, same color hair, hairstyle, very similar complexion, and they both have the same smile. I knew that Uzumaki Naruto has been an orphan all his life, but I, as well as everyone else of our age group, overlooked Naruto's uncanny resemblance to our late Yondaime Hokage. Things aren't adding up, there must be more to this. Kakashi-sensei was rather evasive about answering Naruto's question and why he mistook the older Naruto for his late sensei. I suspect that Kakashi must know something that he won't willingly tell Naruto. At this point, Shikamaru placed everything he thought he knew and understood about Naruto in question. But he decided not to voice his thoughts and theories until he had more time to further investigate the matter further. The group soon arrived at the village gates and made the way to the tower. Unknown to them was that they were being followed by someone from the rooftops. This person was careful to keep a safe distance from the group until he was ready to make his appearance to them. Meanwhile, at the Hokage Tower, Mitarashi Anko was inside the Hokage's office, standing in front of Tsunade's desk with Shizune standing next to the blonde. The interrogation specialist was reporting her findings to the blonde Hokage, who appeared to be listening with attentive ears. "Are you sure about this?" Tsunade asked. Anko nodded. Those creatures weren't killed by each other or by ordinary means. Someone with exceptional skills took them out. I followed the trail of corpses as far as I could and found that it led to Sector No Dash. Before Anko could finish, the door to the office opened, revealing Jiraiya and the rest of the 15 ninjas that followed him back. Kano Amaru and his 2 friends were present also. "Tsunade-hime," Jiraiya said with a surprisingly serious tone, "we have very important business to discuss with you." "Can it wait?" Tsunade retorted. "I'm in the middle of an important meeting with Anko concerning an unknown intruder who infiltrated the Forest of Death." "That's exactly what we're all here to discuss with you," Jiraiya replied. "We know who those people are." "Well, speak," Tsunade said. "Anko-san will remain here to listen to this as well." Jiraiya argued, "But she was the one who discovered the trail of corpses of the creatures living inside that forest, and if my assumptions are correct, it leads to that classified sector. No one here is better familiar with that forest than Anko-san herself, therefore she will be an asset." Jiraiya sighed in defeat. "Very well. But I would prefer that we don't talk here. The nature of what we have to share with you and Anko is something we don't want leaking from outside this office." Tsunade reluctantly nodded as she stood up from her chair. She led the group to the meeting room and Shizune locked the door behind them. Jiraiya then performed a soundproof barrier jutsu around the room. "That should give us some extra privacy," Jiraiya said. "It could be very big trouble should this get out to the public." "Jiraiya, what's this all about?" Tsunade asked. "How much do you know about Hokuseki Senshi, Tsunade-hime?" the Toad-Sunin asked. Tsunade looked at Jiraiya with a small frown. "It's an ancient summoning jutsu that was long lost 200 and 300 years ago," Tsunade said. "My grandfather had a difficult time searching for it and he never found it from what I know." "If that's the case," Jiraiya remarked, "someone has succeeded where Yondaime has failed." Tsunade's eyes went wide on hearing those words. With a disbelieving expression, she asked, "Are you serious?" The ninja who was summoned with that jutsu was the very same one responsible for the slaying of those creatures Anko found in that dreaded forest and in Sector No Return, Jiraiya made clear. He was also the same one Kakashi and the other Jounin senseis and their teams here encountered and lost to. Tsunade knew when Jiraiya was joking and fooling around, and now wasn't one of those times. "What's Sector No Return?" Shino asked. Anko looked at Tsunade, who nodded back to her. "It's a classified and most restricted region of the Forest of Death," Anko explained. "Up to now, almost everyone who ever entered that sector never returned alive, nor were they ever found again. Many ninjas have braved that sector at the cost of their own lives, this even includes some in the Umbu unit. My going in there is a risk that promises death that same day if I'm there too long, despite the fact that I know routes around it." "It's that dangerous?" Choji inquired. Giving him a twisted smile, Anko replied, "If you don't believe me, by all means you are more than welcome to journey there after leaving your clan a letter explaining your reasons for suicide." Chuji gulped fearfully on hearing those words. "What I'm shocked about is hearing that this unknown ninja was able to battle and take out those creatures in that sector with little to no problems, seeing what he did to their carcasses," Anko said. "He's a formidable ninja," Shizun acknowledged, "especially since all 4 ninja teams combined lost to this one ninja." "You don't have to rub it in," Asuma remarked. "My best guess of his skills was that of a high BA class Jounin level ninja," Niji said. "He even executed a wind-manipulated version of my clan's prized Kaiten with devastating effectiveness." From the tone of Niji's voice, it was clear that the Hyuga prodigy actually had a form of respect and admiration for Naruto doing what many considered the impossible. Thus the reason why Naruto is called the #1 most surprising ninja, Niji thought to himself. "There's more about him that we don't know," Jiraiya remarked. "However, should I gauge that ninja's caliber, my guess at best is S-class Kage level." "You?" Naruto's eyes widened as he now sported a huge smile with all his teeth showing, which didn't go unnoticed by the others present. Sakura sighed and shook her head in annoyance at Naruto's behavior during a serious meeting. "No disrespect to you," Sakura said, "but aren't you exaggerating, Jiraiya-sama?" "No, he is not," Kurane stated firmly, surprising some in the room. "The look my team, Naruto, Niji and I saw in that ninja's eyes after what he did to that monster and the surrounding landscape wasn't the kind you'd see from your everyday common shinobis. The feeling I got from just looking at his eyes alone made it clear to me that he wasn't a normal ninja." "What's that supposed to mean?" Naruto asked in what was seen as a defensive manner. Those who weren't there when Kurane and those with her confronted Naruto at the crater didn't understand Naruto's sudden defensive behavior of the ninja in question. "What I mean," Kurane clarified, "is that this ninja we encountered is one with a great deal of experience, much I'm sure none of us could even begin to understand." "Now that speaks volumes," Anko remarked. "Who is this ninja?" Tsunade asked seriously. Jiraiya was about to answer when "An older, stronger, and handsome kick-ass version of me," Naruto said enthusiastically with his chest out and a huge cocky grin on his face, "Uzumaki Naruto. Databia." This was sadly met with a palm being struck hard to the back of his head by fuming Sakura. "Shut up, Naruto," Sakura berated as Naruto rubbed his sore head with a clearly annoyed expression. "Naruto," Tsunade rebuked, "we don't have time for your nonsense at a time like this. Now tell us, who was the ninja being spoken about?" "The Gaki already answered your question with no falsity," Jiraiya said, backing Naruto up, and giving Sakura a hardened look of rebuke. The pink-haired Kunoichi lowered her gaze from the Toad Sage who looked at her with disapproval for her earlier actions toward Naruto. "A completely different Naruto," Jiraiya explained, "was summoned to this plane of reality for reasons unknown and single-handedly took out the ninja squads you sent after Runounin no Daisuke, who turned out to be a psychic embodiment of that other Naruto's stronger shinobi qualities." Tsunade, Shizun, and Anko found that revelation hard to swallow, especially when they turned to look at the younger Naruto standing with the group. "You honestly expect us to believe some older version of this Gaki wiped the floor with you guys?" Anko asked cynically, "and killed those creatures in Sector No Return?" "What's there not to believe?" a new voice spoke up for the first time, causing everyone to jump back from surprise. They turned to see Naruto standing behind them with his arms crossed over his chest. He was still barefooted and dressed in his white tank top and blackish-gray ninja pants. Tsunade, Shizun, and Anko were lost for words. They took a moment to study and analyze the new Naruto standing before them as he went over and stood side by side with his younger and goofier counterpart. "This is how the Gaki will look like when he grows up?" Anko asked before turning to Naruto, grinning toothily at him. Naruto gulped and backed away a few steps and hid behind his older alter ego. "Even in this world," Naruto grinned, "you still shamelessly flirt with me, Anko-chan." "Anko-chan," everyone repeated. "Things are getting interesting," Jiraiya thought. "Hey Gaki, how did you get in here?" "I'm a ninja," Naruto replied, "therefore I won't explain how I did it. I'm here just as testimony and proof to your story. Now that my job here is done." Naruto puffed into smoke, revealing to being a Kage Bushin. Tsunade turned to the ninjas in the room with a convinced and serious demeanor. "I want to know everything that's happened up to now." And we can start with Yukano Amaru. The boy in question gulped but complied, seeing that there was no way out of the mess he was now in. Kono Kamara went explaining how he met up with Daisuke and everything that happened up to the point where he met up with Udon and Mogi before Kakashi and the others intercepted them. Kono Amaru, Tsunade said sternly, as an academy student training to become a shinobi of this village, you should never be too trusting of foreign ninjas whom none of us nor you yourself know, especially if they're in our village unauthorized. I'm sorry, Kono Amaru apologized, but Daikun meant well for Naruto Nyakan. He in no way posed as a threat to any one of us, especially since it turned out that Daikun was really part of the older Naruto Nyakan. Good intentions, Tsunade made clear, does not excuse acts considered as serious security protocol violations that could jeopardize the lives of your comrades and the villagers. I understand, Tsunade-sama, Kono Amaru replied. I'll make sure it doesn't happen again. I'm happy to hear that, Tsunade said before turning to the other Jounins. Now explain to me in detail what happened when you all intercepted this other Naruto and how he single-handedly defeated all of you and this monster Kurane mentioned. The looks the four Jounins and their genins gave showed that they really didn't want to talk about it. The expressions they had were those of embarrassment and on some levels, shame. I'm waiting for an explanation, Tsunade stated. With all due respect, Tsunade-sama, Kakashi said, speaking up for the first time, shouldn't Jiraiya-sama's statement about the other Naruto's abilities being that of a high S-class shinobi be sufficient? All of us here are very well aware that ninjas of such a level are very difficult to beat, let alone fight against. Tsunade, as well as the others, saw how Kakashi was trying to be evasive in explaining the event. When the others didn't argue against Kakashi's words, that only made Tsunade and Jiraiya all the more interested in what happened. If this one ninja from another universe was able to best all of you despite your respective skills and number, Tsunade said, then I think it would be best I hear about it so we can come up with procedures and means to improve ourselves. The group realized that there was no way around what they were trying to avoid. Now tell us, Tsunade ordered, what happened? Or must I subject Anko to interrogate all of you and get the answers from her? Please choose the latter, Anko smiled with twisted excitement, I'm sure we all will have much fun. We'll talk, Kakashi sighed in defeat. This was going to be an explanation that none of the 15 ninjas present were going to enjoy giving. Chapter 64, Points of Views. At the Hokage Tower. To say that Tsunade was far from pleased with the explanation given to her by the four ninja teams concerning their embarrassing defeat would be a set understatement. Shizune shook her head in disbelief upon hearing the story. Jiraiya and Anko though were on their hands and knees in tears laughing their asses off with their lungs protesting for oxygen after hearing the story of how Naruto used a hentai story between teacher and student to get all 15 ninjas to drop their guards and completely leave themselves open for an ambush. That Gaki is a true genius, Jiraiya applauded between his laughs, my, hats off to his brilliant ingenuity. If he was able to pull that off, then by all accounts, he surpassed even me as a writer. I ought to take lessons from him. Maybe if I'm lucky he'll write and give me a copy of that short story he told you guys. It'll be a next great seller for sure. Copycat Kakashi, Anko laughed, Genjutsu Mistress Kurane-chan, Taijutsu Specialist Guy, and Wind Fighter Asuma combined, lost to a hentai. You're telling me that all 15 of you were effectively taken down while being told a hentai that the older Naruto came up with on a whim, Tsunade remarked indignantly while looking at the four ninja squads in front of her, are all of you closet perverts? Niji scowled inwardly at being called a pervert. It made having the Byakugan look bad. Lee felt bad at being labeled by that word. Chuji and the rest of the boys didn't take it any better either. The girls felt just as bad. We're not perverts, Baa-chan, you Naruto protested. Your report doesn't support your claim, Tsunade retorted. I got the impression that all of you enjoyed his story to the point that you all forgot the mission. That's a most unyouthful accusation, Tsunade-sama, Guy protested. We took no pleasure in his story. Isn't that right, Kakashi? Oh, did you say something, Guy? Kakashi mocked as if he was breaking out of his daydream. Guy screamed in frustration, curse you Kakashi and your hip attitude. It's not like we expected the older Naruto to spontaneously change his demeanor on us, Kurane said defensively, he was as bad, if not worse than Jiraiya-sama. We were completely caught off guard when he turned into a shameless pervert describing what he as a teacher would want to do with one of his female students. I bet the girls here got horny from hearing Naruto's counterpart's story. Anko stood up and teased, if anything, it'll provide them ammunition for their wet dreams of Naruto for weeks. You. Naruto blushed heavily at that proclamation, seeing that he, though technically his counterpart, was the center of Anko's statement. Hinata, Ino, Tenten and Sakura blushed in embarrassment as they lowered their heads. As much as Tenten and Sakura tried to deny it, like Hinata and Ino, the mannerism in which Naruto told his story aroused them also, which was why they were so angry at themselves but decided to vent their anger on Naruto instead, which in the end backfired. Damn him, Sakura and Tenten mentally growled, feeling a need for a cold shower like Hinata and Ino. Jiraiya laughed again, seeing the look on the girls' faces. He made a mental note to ask Naruto for more information about his story. This is incredibly troublesome for all of us, Shikamaru sighed. Jiraiya stood back up on his feet after he started keeping his laughter in check. You're not helping Anko, Kurane retorted angrily at her friend. I will not dash. Enough of this, Tsunade cut in and ending a potential argument. We won't dwell any further on that topic. Now tell us, what else happened? Asuma and Kurane explained what took place after Leviathan appeared and ambushed. They also explained with Hinata, Ino and Temari made the appearance and helped them out after a somewhat smaller version of Leviathan entered the scene. Jiraiya explained what he came across while on his way to the village and how he managed to repair the ancient seal he found. Tsunade, Shizune, and Anko stay quiet while hearing their stories. With what Ero Sennin said, Naruto spoke up, my other self told me some things about Daisuke. And that would be? Shizune asked. Naruto explained to them what Naruto told him and mentioned that in his universe, he referred to Tsunade as Kaa-chan. You're joking, Tsunade remarked, you're telling me that my counterpart adopted and raised him as her own son. That's exactly what he told us with his own mouth, Baa-chan, Naruto said. Beautiful, Tsunade remarked in disbelief, one calls me Baa-chan and the older one calls me Kaa-chan. What more should I be made aware of? In his world, Naruto continued, you're my mother, Shizune Nichan, and Kakashi-sensei are my big brother and sister, and Ero Sennin is my pervy uncle and father figure. And without a doubt, Jisan was my grandpa. All in all, my other self had a family. Tsunade, Jiraiya, and the others didn't miss how Naruto placed more emphasis on the word family. Being an orphan all his life, Naruto always craved a family, even now. He valued having a family and being loved more so than having the title of Hokage. Naruto-kun, Hinata thought sympathetically as she looked at the blonde genin. Though he hid it, but Jiraiya couldn't help but feel bad about Naruto's situation and how it contrasted irrefutably with the other Narutos, who had people there for him all his life. Tsunade was trying to process the very thought that she was a mother to the very boy she looked at as a kid brother. Shizune found this almost hard to believe. True, Tsunade had shown motherly/sisterly concern for Naruto, but the very thought of someone like Tsunade raising a child as her own, even she had to wonder how such a child would grow up under her master's tutelage, let alone being influenced by some of her bad habits. Me, a brother figure to Naruto, Kakashi wondered, is such a thing even possible? That would help to explain his keen knowledge on medic jutsus and his insane strength to boot. Kiba commented, that new Naruto must have some excellent chakra control. Unlike a certain Naruto we know, Sakura remarked. You don't have to rub it in, Sakura-chan, Naruto retorted. Well, it's true, Sakura emphasized, your chakra control is one of the worst. And if your alter ego has as much chakra as you with that grade of control of his chakra, he must be talented. That's because he had people who properly trained him while growing up, Shino pointed out. All the people he mentioned as family members are all skilled ninjas in their own rights, especially since his parental figures are Sunnins. Therefore, there's little to no wonder why he became such a powerful fighter. Turning to Naruto, Shino said, he's your polar opposite, Naruto, in almost every sense. You. Naruto found Shino's logic undeniable. He was there with Shino and the others to see for himself what Naruto was capable of and what his potentials could be. He's a better and more favored version of me, Naruto sighed. Don't take it too hard, Naruto-kun, Hinata encouraged, your current circumstances aren't irreversible. Huh, Naruto muttered as he turned to face the Hyuga heiress. Though your other self is from a different world and upbringing, however, Hinata elaborated, he's still you in every way. Just look at your other self as what you can potentially become with more effort and training. After all, Sakura-san did say that your alter ego has as much chakra as you, and because he has that great of control of his chakra, he's very talented. That ultimately means that you too have what it takes to be as talented as him. That served to lift up Naruto's spirit and optimism once again to high levels. You really believe that? Naruto smiled and asked. After seeing how the counterparts of Ino, Temari-san, and myself battled and defeat that smaller copy of that reptilian monster, Hinata explained, I saw in her a strength that also exists inside me. I saw her as what I could also become if I put my mind, body, and soul to it. And that other Temari-san said that their Naruto-kun actually helped them to work together as team. Hey, you, Naruto thought up, if that's true, then maybe we can ask him to give us some pointers in improving our skills. I definitely want to know about his wind manipulation thingy he knows. What I'd like to know is why my counterpart was rather affectionate with him, Ino commented. I mean, Niji told me that he and the others who weren't knocked out by the other Naruto saw the way my other self looked at him and caressed his face. Don't you mean the way you looked and caressed Naruto's face affectionately? Sakura smirked. Ino blushed and shouted, shut up, forward girl. It's not like that. Sure, Ino pig, Sakura mocked, you weren't checking out Naruto's body and biceps. I saw the way you were looking at him and being enchanted by his voice. Shut up, forward, Ino shouted, you're just as guilty. I am not, Sakura retorted heatedly, I don't see or look at Naruto in that way. Will you both knock it off and behave like professional kunoichis? Kurane scolded. The two girls stopped arguing, though they shot hardened frowns at each other. The guys in the room sighed at their behavior. They'll never change, Shikamaru thought. Anyway, Jiraiya said, returning everyone's attention back to the topic at hand, the other Naruto wants all of us in this room to meet him at Sector No Return tomorrow afternoon. Are you out of your mind? Tsunade protested, there's no way we're journeying there. He didn't make it up for discussion, Jiraiya replied, because that's where he and the girls with him are temporarily residing. From the way Anko-san described that classified sector, Choji asked, how are those four able to live and survive in that forest? We'll just have to ask him when we meet him tomorrow, Jiraiya said. Clearly, all of us have questions for him, and I'm certain he and the girls with him will have a lot of questions for us as well. What I'd like to know is why that other Temari is wearing the insignia of Konoha and not Suna's, Kiba said aloud. Do you suppose she defected from Suna to Konoha? Like Jiraiya said, Tsunade replied, we'll just have to wait until tomorrow to ask them and not jump to wrong conclusions. Furthermore, what was discussed in this room will remain in this room. Everything that has happened today up to now will remain a SS class secret. If I hear one whisper or one rumor about this meeting from outsiders, the one responsible for leaking this information out will be punished severely with the possibility of death. Am I clear? Everyone in the room nodded. Turning to the three youths, Tsunade said, Mogi, Udon, Kano Amaru, you three are under oath to never discuss what happened here with anyone. Not your friends, senseis, or family. Is that understood? The three nodded in understanding. Later that night at Sector No Return. N. Naruto was bedridden for several hours after returning with the girls. The battle with Leviathan and his combined use of Hydration, super strength, and chakra scalpels on Leviathan took its toll on the blonde's body and chakra reverses. Clearly Naruto had yet to master that S-class jutsu which drained a lot of chakra. Plus the wound that Leviathan gave Naruto earlier was a contributing factor, and his body combated against the poison while he slept. It wasn't until sometime past 11:30 at night that Naruto was back on his feet for the most part. Thankfully the girls took the time to recuperate as well and not suffer from fatigue. Currently, Naruto and his girls were in the cellar with Leviathan tied and strapped down on the examination table. The creature was presently hooked to life support equipment with suppression seal papers attached to its arms and legs to prevent any possible release of chakra should the creature somehow wake up. All right, Naruto said, everything has been prepared according to my specifications. Do you truly believe Leviathan was telling the truth about Orochimaru being alive and sending it to attack us? Temari asked. I honestly don't know what to believe, Naruto replied. I was certain that I killed Orochimaru for good with that jutsu I used. Perhaps he had some kind of trump card up his sleeves that I wasn't aware of at the time. Well, we won't know for sure by just standing around here talking about it, Ino interjected. Agreed, Naruto said, let's begin the process. You all know what to do. Hinata and Temari nodded. Turning to Ino, Naruto said, shall we? She nodded and went over to the creature with her lover. Standing at opposite sides of the examination table, Ino and Naruto stood by the head of the creature and performed the required hand signs for the jutsu they were going to use. Focusing chakra into their right hands, the two blondes placed their hands on Leviathan's head and began their entry into its mind. Good luck Naruto-kun and Ino-chan, Hinata said in an undertone. In Leviathan's mind, Ino and Naruto were flying through what could be described as a vortex of the creature's mindscape. It wasn't a while later when they came from out of the vortex and into an area that looked like a barren swampland. The area looked to be laid waste with no sign of life. Nice scenery, Ino remarked cynically. I'm sure, Naruto said in sarcasm, in any case, let's see what we can find in this place. Naruto and Ino began moving around through the creature's mind. Naruto suggested that it would be best if they stuck together instead of separating. The pair wandered through the mindscape hoping to find what they were looking for. It was a while, but soon they came across what looked like an altar with a large scroll on top of it. That must be what we're looking for, Naruto figured. The memory scroll, Ino said, I'm sure we'll find what we're looking for in that. The two blondes went over to the scroll on the altar and opened it. Unraveling the large scroll, they began their search for the answers they were seeking. Back in Konoha. Naruto was back home and in his bedroom in his sleeping pajamas. He was presently lying on his bed thinking about everything that happened earlier that day, from his first encounter with Daisuke to Hinata meeting up and making him feel better about himself to meeting and Naruto face to face. So much in one day, Naruto thought. He found it hard to sleep with all those thoughts in mind. Despite what happened, Naruto was rather excited about tomorrow. There was so much he wanted to know and learn from Naruto and how he became so strong and formidable. The very thought that Jiraiya said that Naruto was S-class cage level and that Hinata told him to look at his alter ego as what he could potentially become convinced him that he too has the capacity to reach Naruto's level. With all that in mind, Naruto thought about everything his counterpart told him while they were in the forest before their battle with Leviathan. He saw that Naruto didn't think highly of either Sasuke or Sakura, though he respected his opinions and feelings about them instead of trying to get him into changing his point of views about them like Daisuke tried to. He remembered Naruto telling him that he didn't come to this world to fix anyone's life according to how he feels things should be done, though he did offer some helpful advice about getting to know different girls besides Sakura. For a long time, Naruto centered his attention around the pink-haired Kunoichi, narrow-mindedly believing she was the smartest and prettiest girl he ever met. And Naruto, though not directly, told him otherwise. And in terms of girlfriend material, I'm not here to tell you exactly who you ought to go out with. However, I will say that you shouldn't be afraid to widen out and broaden your horizons in meeting and getting to know different females. Who knows, maybe one might surprise you. Getting to know different girls, Naruto thought to himself, what girl besides Sakura-chan do I know? His mind soon drifted from Sakura, to Ino, whom to him was a self-centered snob who was too concerned with her looks and figure. There was Tenten, whom he barely knew besides being on the same team as Niji and Lee. And there was also Ayam, the ramen girl who treated him kindly with her father Toki. Naruto admitted to himself that Ayam, though older than him, was a very pretty girl, but her affections toward him had always been like that of an older sister. The next girl who came to mind was Hyuga Hinata, Naruto said to himself as his mind now drifted to her. From what he could remember of her, Naruto had at the beginning thought of Hinata as the quiet, shy, timid, and weird girl from his academy class. But after seeing the way she fought against Niji during the preliminaries, his views of her gradually changed from how they used to be. Before his match with Niji during the finals, he openly told her that he liked people like her. She wasn't stuck up, snobby or full of herself just because of what clan she was from. Naruto then remembered how Hinata, after learning about his bitter meeting with Daisuke, sought him out in hopes to make him feel better and she did. She listened to him without being judgmental of him and offered him consoling words that held insight, compassion, and understanding. She felt and understood his pain and wanted to help him. His view of Hinata heightened and he told her that she was one of his precious people. Then there was the incident in the forest when he senselessly asked Hinata if she had a clitoris. His face now turned crimson after recalling what he learned what that was after discreetly asking Shizune in private about it after their meeting with Tsunade was over. He was sure that had he asked any other female, he'd have been punched or beaten to a pulp, and knowing Jiraiya, that sage would have given him a perverted approach to the subject. Thankfully, Shizune, being the big sister figure she had always been to him, understood his innocence and took him aside to explain the functions of the human genitals in procreation. Still, Shizune couldn't help but tease him a little bit after seeing his blushing face while listening to her explanation. "I'll have to apologize to Hinata about that incident," Naruto said to himself as he mind continued thinking about the day's events. Recalling the meeting, he remembered how everyone was praising Naruto's skills and abilities and how they contrasted sharply and undisputedly with his. Clearly Naruto had a kind of life Naruto was never given and Naruto himself wanted to understand what life had to be like for him instead of putting him down because of his current handicaps. Those were among the reasons why Naruto admired and respected Naruto. Sakura and Shino pointed out how completely different he and his counterpart are and how much of a talented fighter and medic Naruto grew to be. And just as in the case with Daisuke, Hinata came with her comforting words and lifted his spirit up. She saw things in an entirely different light than how the others viewed their counterparts. Hinata's words to him were soothing, heartening, and upbuilding for both him and herself. She helped him see that despite their differences, they're still the same person inside and out and that he too had the hidden potential to reach Naruto's level and expertise, because she believed that about herself after seeing Hinata in action. "Hinata is truly a really good friend," Naruto said to him while laying on his bed, "a smart and pretty friend who turns red and faints around me a lot for some reason. I wish I knew why. Hey, maybe I can take the time to get to know her more and find out why that way. And Naruto did say that I shouldn't be afraid to get to know other girls besides Sakura-chan. I'm sure that Hinata won't resort to hitting me for making an unintentional mistake or for acting silly around her." Getting up off his bed, Naruto went over to the mirror and visualized Naruto standing in front of him. "You think I'm afraid to widen out and broaden my horizons in meeting and getting to know other girls," Naruto exclaimed while pointing to the mirror. "You think I have a long way to go before I catch up to you? I'll show you. I'll show everyone. Just watch. Because I'm Uzumaki Naruto, future Hokage. I say this with a promise. And I never go back on my word. That's my Nindo. Databia." Meanwhile at the Hokage Tower, Tsunade was at her desk drinking down a bottle of sake. She couldn't get over the idea that her counterpart was a mother to Naruto. So much was on her mind about what that entailed. She herself had no children to pass on her legacy to, yet her alter ego adopted Minato and Kushina's son as her own and undoubtedly made him her heir of the Senju clan in her universe. Senju Uzumaki Naruto, Tsunade muttered to herself, sole heir of the joint Senju Namikaze clans. That has an interesting ring to it, Jiraiya said standing by the opened window with his trademark smile, thinking about adopting the Gaki after today. Don't make jokes, Tsunade remarked as Jiraiya chuckled and entered the office through the window. What's the matter, Jiraiya said, don't you think you're mother material? The Gaki said that I was his father figure in his world, so that could possibly mean that figuratively to each other you and I were love dash. Don't get any ideas, Tsunade warned. I thought about having children years ago while I was with Dan. But after his death, I've foregone all thoughts about the idea of having children and dedicated myself to my career as a ninja and medic nin. I admit that I never gave thoughts to having children of my own, Jiraiya said, though Minato had always been like a son to me. I would have been bragging to everyone about the kind of man Minato became were I to have been his actual father. Well, you were his sensei, Tsunade pointed out, and like Kushina, Minato was also an orphan. Uzumaki Kushina, Jiraiya said, it's amazing that those two, despite their opposite characteristics, found love with each other. Though Naruto acts more like his mother than he does his father, Tsunade commented. Speaking of his father, Jiraiya said, Kakashi earlier made a very big blunder that I know won't pass without repercussions. And that would be? He called the older Naruto, Minato-sensei, by mistake in front of Naruto, Jiraiya explained. Kakashi refused to explain in more details to Naruto about why he mistook the other Naruto for Minato and told Naruto to drop it. Somehow, I suspect that Kakashi's momentary carelessness will trigger a domino effect that might come back to bite us in the end. Wonderful, Tsunade remarked cynically, more headaches to worry about. Do you think you can look into who the Seal Master was who summoned this other Naruto? To tell you the truth, Jiraiya said, I'm suspecting that there was no Seal Master who summoned him into this world. What do you mean? As an experienced Seal Master myself, Jiraiya said, I wouldn't have been so careless as to pen such an intricate ancient kinjutsu without being wary of possible consequences. Some of the designs I saw in that cave where the Hokuseki Senshi was drawn wasn't written properly. It took me hours to study and correct the seal and get it to function the way it was supposed to. No true Seal Master would have made such reckless mistakes. So Naruto's counterpart was lying about who summoned him, Tsunade asked. That's the thing, Jiraiya clarified. He had everyone assume that he was summoned by a Seal Master after he explained that it takes one to execute the Hokuseki Senshi properly. However, he never said that he was summoned by a Seal Master, and he was careful not to reveal who his summoner was, which also includes the summoner's gender and age. If anything, I believe he's trying to protect whoever it was who summoned him and the 3 Kunio-kais with him into this world. I can understand why. I'd have most likely done the same if I were in his shoes. Any suspicions about who could have executed that jutsu? Tsunade asked. None yet, Jiraiya admitted, and I doubt that older Gaki will willingly tell us. If word of that jutsu's existence gets out, we'll have more than Orochimaru and the Akatsuki looking into this. Could you imagine what would happen should either of them get their hands on that jutsu? For ours and everyone's sakes, Tsunade replied, I'd rather that jutsu stay lost and forgotten. Likewise, Jiraiya agreed, but still, I can't help but wonder what life had to be like for that Gaki back in his home reality. I mean, he had everything that Naruto always wanted in life, even we were there for him as parents, though not blood-related. Tsunade sensed the heavy feeling of guilt in Jiraiya's voice. I don't know what the circumstances were in his reality, Jiraiya continued, but if that older Gaki's existence is any testimony to what Naruto could have become if we were always there for him, sighed, I left Minato's son to fend for himself for more than 13 years while I was busy chasing and following Orochimaru's activities and later the Akatsuki. Why didn't you take Naruto with you after all these years? Tsunade asked. I couldn't, Jiraiya admitted. During that time I couldn't blow cover while tracking Orochimaru and the activities of the Akatsuki. Even if I wanted to, Sarutobi-sensei would have denied me from taking Naruto with me, saying that my line of work was too dangerous for any child to be in and that it wouldn't allow me time to properly raise and train the boy. I wasn't in the best state of mind to be taking care of any child at the time, Tsunade said. Besides always running from debt collectors, I had many personal problems and fears, and admittedly, I was emotionally unstable. Shizune was always looking out for me, sometimes as though she was the parent. I'm amazed at how she always stuck by me after all these years. I could only wonder how our counterparts were able to raise and train that older Gaki to become the ninja he is now despite whatever personal problems or covert missions they had to deal with, Jiraiya said. That's something only that young man can answer for us when we meet him tomorrow afternoon, Tsunade said, though I myself am curious about life in his world and how much of it is different from this one. The one thing that irks me, however, is that he's as big of a pervert as you are. Jiraiya grinned, like he said, I was a father figure to him while growing up. I can only imagine what I must have passed on to him besides my brilliant methods of charming beautiful maidens like you, Tsunade. You have yet to charm me, pervert, Tsunade retorted, and flattery won't work on me. It didn't then and it won't now. Only time will tell, Jiraiya replied, and since you said I have yet to charm you, that only proves that I still have a chance to woo you over. I just have to change my approach and appeal to you. Tsunade frowned when she realized her choice of words and how Jiraiya used them against her. Get out, Tsunade snorted. Jiraiya laughed as he made his way to the window. Until tomorrow, Tsunade, Jiraiya said, have sweet erotic dreams of me. Before Tsunade could throw any furniture at him, be it her desk, Jiraiya took off and left the scene. I swear he's so annoying, Tsunade said, and he never knows when to give up. Yet, Tsunade thought, That's one of things I admire and respect about him. At the Hyuga compound, Hinata was home in her bedroom in her sleeping kimono thinking about everything that happened earlier that day. She was recalling how Naruto hugged and called her a truly smart, pretty and a precious friend. That thought alone made blush happily. She was acknowledged by the one genin that she always admired not only as a ninja from the famed Hyuga clan but as a young girl with likable qualities. She then thought about everyone's and her own encounter with Naruto. Thinking about what Naruto would grow to look like after seeing Naruto only heightened her fantasies, especially when she remembered how structured and trained his body was. What am I thinking? Hinata blushed while scolding herself. I shouldn't be thinking of Naruto-kun like that. That was when she remembered the question Naruto asked her cluelessly in front of everyone. Though she was heavily embarrassed that Naruto asked her that question about her special muscle and then asked if he could see it, however, part of her was actually turned on by it. Hinata started visualizing how handsome Naruto would grow to become after remembering how Naruto looked like. The way he looked, the way he smiled, the way his mature voice sounded, the mannerism and how he told me exactly what he'd like to do with him. Hinata stopped when she realized where her thoughts were going and how Naruto affected her earlier today. His story and choice of words awakened a dormant passion within her being, which totally caught her off guard. He even went so far as to use her in his perverted story, and she was shocked at herself that she was caught in his verbal web. She knew he was the enemy, or so they thought, but she couldn't help but be seduced by his erotic words. Even now she was recalling the story with her mind, remembering the sound of Naruto's sensual and husky voice narrating it in the first person. "Naruto-kun," Hinata said in a soft undertone as she unconsciously moved to lay down on her sleeping futon before placing her hands over her breasts to feel her nipples hardening through the fabric of her kimono, pretending it was Naruto's hands touching and groping her there. She was visualizing Naruto's story and remembering the sound of his voice. She felt heat rise in her body, the same one she felt earlier like the other girls did, though they won't come out and admit it to themselves. Playing the erotic scene of Naruto's story in her head, she was tempted to engage in some guilty pleasures of self-gratification to cool the rising heat in her being, especially between her legs. She pulled up the bottom fringes of her kimono, exposing her panties, and was about to stretch her hand down to reach into the fabric of her concealed lips when "Hinata-sama," Niji's voice called out from outside her room as he knocked on her locked door. Hinata jumped and yelped slightly with a gasp as she snapped back to reality, with a huge blush on her cheeks. I'm sorry," Niji apologized behind the closed doors. "If I caught you at a bad time then I'll dismiss dash." No," Hinata replied hurriedly as she pulled her kimono back down while hiding her embarrassment. "Is something the matter, Niji Naizen?" "I just wanted to discuss today's events with you if you are not already asleep," Niji said. "Just a minute," Hinata said as she hurriedly fixed herself so as to not arouse suspicion of her actions just a moment ago. Going over to the door, she opened it to find Niji also in his sleeping attire standing by her door. "Let's talk outside the manor," Niji invited. Hinata nodded and followed Niji outside and into the garden. After making sure that no one else was in sight or in hearing range, Niji brought up what was on his mind. "Hinata-sama," Niji started, "do you remember that jutsu that the older Naruto used?" "You mean that Shippuzumaki no jutsu?" Hinata asked. Niji nodded. "What's your take on this?" Hinata thought for a moment as she recalled the event in her head. "It's shocking yet amazing," Hinata said. "The Kaiten has always been a most prized familial jutsu that our clan has always prided themselves on. The fact that the Naruto-kun from the other dimension was able to create his version of it is nothing short of astonishing." "Why do you ask?" "Learning and mastering the Kaiten on my own was no easy task," Niji said. "It took me a long while to get the theory of that jutsu correct and formulate the chakra and body movements required to perform the jutsu properly and effectively. No one outside our clan is ever allowed to learn the jutsu, especially since they don't have the Byakugan. Then how do you suppose Naruto-kun learned to create his own version of it?" "That's what I've been trying to figure out," Niji said. "I always thought that copying a clan's specialty jutsu was impossible, especially without the required bloodline limit. Yet Naruto managed to bypass that barrier to an amazing degree, even if only by so much. That's what makes Naruto-kun the #1 most surprising ninja," Hinata remarked with admiration in her tone. "Like our Naruto-kun, He's unpredictable and has ways of going beyond everyone's expectations of him as both a person and ninja. But Naruto-kun's skills weren't the only things that amazed me. There were also Mai, Ino-san and Tamari-san's counterparts. They're quite skilled kunoichis, Niji acknowledged. As a Jounin sensei, Naruto taught them well. How do you figure he's a Jounin sensei? Like you said today, Niji pointed out, they said that their Naruto-kun trained them to work together as a team with their respective jutsus and skills. That being the case, he must be a really good teacher. Plus, Jiraiya-sama and Kurane-sensei's statements about his facial expression and abilities only served to add to the fact that he's a Jounin of high class. He resorted to using non-lethal force and methods to beat and outsmart us. Niji was still indignant at himself for dropping his guard and allowing himself to be open to end Naruto's attack. That's twice in 1 year I let myself fall for Naruto's tricks, Niji mentally berated himself. He's not our enemy, Hinata said, so there was no point in using lethal force against us. It hurt thinking that we had to fight him as our enemy. I was relieved when he revealed that he and his summoner are in fact on our side. Though I wish we knew why he and the girls with him were summoned to this world. I'm sure he'll explain that to us if he so chooses to, Niji replied. What I'd also like to know is more about is this sector no return which practically no knows exists in the Forest of Death. The fact that the 4 of them are taking residence in that region that's been expressly closed off and classified for good reasons makes me all the more curious about their skills as ninjas and the type of intense training that they probably undergo in their dimension. We'll just have to work harder to reach their level, Hinata said. We came very far in our own ways, but seeing their talents also proved that we have hidden potential within ourselves to become better than we are now. Niji agreed. Yes we do, Hinata-sama. I look forward to tomorrow's meeting with them. If anything, I'm sure it'll be an interesting event for all of us. The 2 Hyugas left the garden and returned to the manor. Niji, after escorting Hinata back to her room, returned back to his own room in the branch house. While in her room, Hinata laid back down on her futon with thoughts of what tomorrow had in store for her and everyone else. At the Nara residence, Shikamaru locked himself in his room while sitting at his desk looking through several scrolls and history books he took out from Konoha's shinobi archives, not the library. For hours, he was researching for more information about Yondaime and his exploits that he might have overlooked. After his meeting with Tsunade and the others, he tried to look up information about Naruto and see if there was anyone who carried the name Uzumaki before him. In the end, that led him to turn up empty and hit several dead ends as he couldn't find any records of anyone else besides Naruto with that name. This isn't making any sense, Shikamaru mumbled under his breath. I checked the backgrounds of several orphans and links to their late families were documented. With Naruto, it's like his familial line never existed. It's like he's just here, no ancestral line, no estranged surviving relatives or dead family members, no mention of anyone finding him as an infant. His record showed that he was placed in an orphanage but was kicked out when he was between 5 and 7 years old for reasons unexplained. Shikamaru was bothered by the fact that an orphanage kicked Naruto out when he was that young and with no means to provide for or defend himself. What could Naruto have done to merit being put out of an orphanage, Shikamaru wondered. True, the worst he ever did was pull pranks but none of which were ever life-threatening or mean-spirited. Shikamaru, in his research, learned that Sandaime, after learning of Naruto being ousted from the orphanage, gave Naruto his own apartment where he's been living it since. Sandaime, up until his death, had been giving Naruto weekly allowances for him to live off from. As Shikamaru continued reading, he thought back to the story of how Minato defeated Kyuubi on the night of October 10th. Wait a minute, Shikamaru thought aloud, Naruto's record showed that his birthday falls on that same day. If my math serves me correctly, his age and birth traces back to the night of Kyuubi's attack on Konoha. But there was no hospital record of a pregnant woman giving birth to him that night despite the fact that there were documented names of casualties, both civilian and shinobi alike. There were also records of those admitted to the hospitals during the attack and set up facilities that were made to accommodate the ninjas and civilians wounded during the attack. With all this, how could there not be any mention of a pregnant woman going into labor, premature or not, during the night of Kyuubi's rampage? This further heightened Shikamaru's suspicion of a possible conspiracy and cover-up surrounding Naruto's life and backgrounds. The genius Nara picked up another book and read about the Iwa Konoha War, and how Izanokuni was destroyed by Iwa ninjas during that war. There was a small mention of surviving refugees who took up residence in Konoha, but no names were recorded. Could Naruto's mother have been one of those foreign refugees, Shikamaru wondered to himself, and if so, why is there no documents of her Konoha citizenship? Taking out a piece of paper, Shikamaru started writing down all of his current findings and possibilities that were in question. With that done, he picked up another scroll that talked about Baijus and their history in the elemental nations during the wars. He read up on how Shadaime, Senju Hashirama, had the ability to manipulate wood and with his bloodline limit, control Baijus. He read how Hashirama, balancing the power amongst the nations, distributed the 9 Baijus amongst the elemental nations. As he read further, Shikamaru found that in the book it clearly stated that no Baiju, not even the weakest of them, can be killed by mortals. So how was Yondaime able to kill a Baiju, the strongest of them in fact, since it's saying that no mortal can kill such creatures? We've always been told that Yondaime defeated Kyuubi, but no one at the academy ever mentioned, if they actually knew, exactly how he did it. As he read more about the history surrounding the Baijus, a word came across Shikamaru's eyes that caught his breath. Jinhiriki, Shikamaru said lowly. What shocked him further was when he read how the leaders of those nations with a Baiju or two, had such monsters sealed inside newborn babies, making it easier to control the power of the Baiju. As he read on, he found how during the earlier Great Shinobi Wars, Jinhirikis were used as their nation's ultimate weapons against their enemy villages or nations. What he also read was how Jinhirikis received poor and harsh treatment by their fellow villagers and branded as outcasts in their village. That now led Shikamaru to think back to how Naruto had been treated throughout most of his life, from being thrown out of the orphanage, his poor training at the academy, how unfairly the teachers taught others while giving him little attention, and how the villagers sent hateful looks at him. Even as a child, Shikamaru recalled seeing parents pulling their children away from Naruto and telling them to stay away from him. Naruto was ignored by the villagers, looked at with indifference or resentment, or kicked out of stores. Very few people ever gave Naruto the attention he needed and so desired. This type of life undoubtedly created in Naruto a great deal of insecurities, Shikamaru realized. Being shown and given affections from practically anyone would have meant more than anything to him, especially if he made bonds with friends he had, even if they were few. It's clear that he becomes quickly attached to those who acknowledge him, Shikamaru continued thinking. He especially became attached to Sasuke in spite of the fact that he betrayed us and the village. After analyzing the kind of lonely life he was forced to live, losing bonds with anyone must be unthinkable to Naruto, and he so desperately wants to preserve all the bonds with all those he ever made, even if that person is his rival or a pink-haired girl he's infatuated with who has no romantic interest in him whatsoever. And there's Hinata. Though Naruto is sadly blind to this, the Hyuga heiress really cares for him. Everyone with eyes in their heads knows she likes him a lot, and it's hard not to notice from the way she always blushes and faints around him. I don't know if Naruto himself is aware of the bond he made with Hinata. During the preliminaries, Lee himself acknowledged that Hinata is a lot like Naruto, never wanting to give up, giving it her all, protecting everyone precious to her, believing strongly in her Nindo, wanting to be acknowledged not only by her family and friends, but also by Naruto himself. It's surprising how in spite of how much of a bond Naruto desires to make with everyone, he's unaware of the one he has with Hinata, which to me seems stronger than they themselves are aware of. Naruto's reactions to what Neji did to her during the preliminaries and going as far as to swear and make a blood oath with Hinata's blood only serves to testify to that. Then he remembered the finals that took place during the Chunin exams when Naruto was fighting against Neji. After Neji shut off all of his tenketsus, Shikamaru contemplated. He was certain that the battle was won in his favor. However, Naruto got up and emitted red chakra from out of his body. In my research, there was no record of Naruto having a bloodline limit of any sort. And the only other creature that was red and gave off red chakra was Kyuubi, Shikamaru said under his breath as he started piecing everything together. Naruto is the Jinhiriki of Kyuubi no Yoko. Since Yondaime couldn't have realistically killed the Kyuubi, he sealed it into Naruto right after he was born. But he couldn't have just chosen Naruto out of random or convenience since he was born that night. Everyone had always said that Yondaime had a strong sense of justice. With that being the case, he wouldn't have asked any other parent to volunteer their newborn son or daughter for something he wouldn't have been willing to do with his own child. Therefore, it only makes sense that he used Naruto, his own son, as the vessel to imprison Kyuubi into at the cost of his own life. Naruto's mistreatment while growing up must have been due to the grown ups knowing about Naruto's status as a Jinchuriki to the monster that attacked Konoha. Shikamaru realized, they used Naruto as a scapegoat to vent their hatred and grudge against the Kyuubi. And we as their children were poisoned by their hatred and were conditioned into treating Naruto as an outcast without understanding why. The more Shikamaru thought about it, the more he regretted that he never spent as much time with Naruto as he could have when they were younger. Sure, he hanged out with Naruto along with Chuji and Kiba at the academy, especially when they would cut class. However, Shikamaru never really took the time to get to know Naruto for Naruto, and for a time only saw him as a fellow classmate and prankster who always did lousy in class and a troublesome kid who always got into so much trouble. Shikamaru then thought about Naruto's alter ego and what Shino brought out earlier. He had people who properly trained him while growing up. All the people he mentioned as family members are all skilled ninjas in their own rights, especially since his parental figures are Sanins. Therefore, there's little to no wonder why he became such a powerful fighter. He's your polar opposite, Naruto, in almost every sense. He's your polar opposite, in almost every sense, Shikamaru thought before he remembered Naruto's words to them after Kakashi's question to him. Why don't you have whisker marks on your face? Kakashi asked. For reasons concerning my birth I'd rather not discuss, Naruto answered, but I assure you Kakashi that the other Naruto and I share the same burden. He wasn't referring to the burden of being an orphan, Shikamaru pieced together, he was referring to his burden as a Jinchuriki. The other genins didn't catch on to that, but I'm sure Asuma-sensei and the other jounins caught on to what he meant. Everything was now making sense to Shikamaru as the enigma of Naruto fell into place. The only piece of information he hadn't yet deciphered was the identity of Naruto's birth mother, who to his best speculation, was a foreign refugee from the former Izunokuni who came and lived in Konoha after her homeland's destruction. I wonder how many or few knows the truth about Naruto's origins and status as a Jinchuriki, Shikamaru wondered. I wonder how much my folks know about Naruto that they wouldn't or couldn't share with me. For what it was worth, Shikamaru's respect for the village as a whole dropped several notches, significantly. At the Harano residence, Sakura was in her sleeping gown thinking about the day's events. After their meeting with Tsunade, Sakura and Ino talked in private about Naruto and Naruto's characteristics and abilities. Ino talked about how she couldn't believe how the older Naruto looked like and wondered if Naruto would mature to look that hot. Sakura remarked that regardless of how Naruto would grow to look like, he'd still be the same clown who'd pester her for dates and getting her into becoming his girlfriend. Ino however countered by saying that she doubted that completely because she believed that Naruto wouldn't chase after her forever and would eventually move on from her and to someone else. Sakura argued by saying that she never saw Naruto look at another girl in all the days she knew him and that he constantly sought to be around her. Ino shot back by saying that if Naruto was any testimony to what Naruto could become in the future, without doubt, there would be other females that would seek his attention and affections, and though she didn't voice, Ino thought that she'd probably be one of those females. Stupid Ino pig, Sakura muttered, I swear she acts like a know-it-all. Her thoughts drifted to both Naruto and Naruto. For all she could remember, Naruto always crushed on her and annoyed her repeatedly in asking her out on dates, all of which she refused in hopes of one day getting together with Uchiha Sasuke. She would hit, punch, and kick him to the ground, wall and nearby furniture or tree, whenever he did something that was considered stupid, reckless, and downright idiotic. Yet despite this, Naruto placed her in high regards and would often compliment her about her looks and book smarts. However, Naruto didn't appear to take the same liking to her. In truth, he openly mocked and insulted her without so much of a second thought, although she insulted him first. He didn't hesitate to attack, hurt, and knock her unconscious in the manner that he did, though it was clearly out of self-defense. Even in this universe you never change at all, Sakura, Naruto remarked in boredom, you're still the same Dekosuke I often took you for. While replaying those words, she thought about how she was used to being liked and desired by Naruto, who was goofy, loud, brash, naive, persistent, reliable, and protective of his friends. As for Naruto, Sakura had to admit to herself that he was very handsome, tall, strong, calm-minded and intelligent and quite the seducer. This is Baka Uzumaki Naruto we're talking about, Sakura tried to reason with herself, yet, why does the idea of losing his attention and interest bothers me? Though she never said it out loud, but Sakura suffered from low self-esteem, especially when she was picked on during her academy days. Ino helped her through that when they were younger before their rivalry for Sasuke started and placed a fork in their friendship. Sakura even used the acknowledgement and attention she'd get from Naruto, the academy's dead last, as a means to boost up her self-confidence and self-esteem. Sakura didn't realize how used to and attached she was to Naruto's character and his demeanor with and around her. To find out that an older and more mature version of him looked down on her character with disapproval in both his and this universe made her feel unexpectedly sad. And the fact that that young man was what Naruto could have been had Sakura wondering if Naruto would have viewed her the same way as Naruto does. She was surprised at how the thought of Naruto's displeasure troubled her that much. From Naruto's tone and choice of words, Sakura saw that he didn't think highly of her and that his relationship with her counterpart wasn't like anything she and Naruto had. What do I care anyway, Sakura said to herself while shaking her head, Naruto isn't his counterpart and he doesn't have his personality. Therefore, I shouldn't be allowing what that Baka said get the better of me. It's not like I had any interest in Naruto in the first place and I believe I already made that perfectly clear to Naruto. We both made a promise to rescue and get Sasuke-kun back together and when we do, things can go back to the way they were. And by that time, Sasuke-kun will more than likely have a change of heart for the better after he sees how much he was wanted back by us and the village. Sasuke-kun already knows that I love him and I'm sure that with given time and effort after we bring him back, he'll open up his heart to me, especially as we help him re-establish his life in Konoha. Saying her piece, Sakura closed the lights and went off to bed. Despite her claim however, Sakura still found that a part of herself was bothered by the idea of Naruto not liking her anymore. Back at Sector No Return. Naruto and Ino retreated from Leviathan's mind and broke off the psychic link they had with the detained creature. Both blondes opened their eyes as Hinata and Temari turned their attention to them. Did you guys find anything? Temari inquired. Based on our findings, Naruto replied, it was definitely Orochimaru's voice although from the recorded memories, his aura was slightly off. So Orochimaru is still alive? Hinata asked worriedly. It would appear that way, Ino said as she thought about the situation, but we barely got a good view of his face. Orochimaru was a body snatcher, Naruto verbally recalled, he was obsessed with immortality and had always sought newer and stronger bodies to inhabit in order to prolong his life. But that jutsu I used on him severed the soul of his head and sealed it. So how could Orochimaru still be alive? Temari asked, unless someone else was fighting you in his place as him. No, Naruto assured, that was definitely Orochimaru I fought and killed back then. This is getting us nowhere, Hinata said, and so long as we're stuck in this world, we can't do anything further to investigate Orochimaru's mysterious re-emergence. Talk about double jeopardy. Double, Naruto muttered under his breath while a particular book came to mind, I think I know where we can get our answers from. But we'll have to return to our home world to do so. How exactly will we be able to go back? Ino asked, you were summoned by Konohamaru to train him and we can only wonder how long that will take. Give or take, Temari added, it could be weeks or a couple of months. We can't stay in this world that long while trouble is brewing back home, Hinata said. Relax, Naruto said keeping a calm and leveled head, it's not the end of our world yet. There's still time and I doubt Orochimaru will suddenly reveal himself so soon. But everyone will start getting suspicious if we're gone for too long, Temari pointed, a couple of days, okay, but months. I'll think of something, Naruto sighed, hopefully it'll give us the ticket back home without leading to Konohamaru's demise which none of us want. What will we do with Leviathan in the meantime? Hinata asked. Naruto looked down at the creature before moving away from the examination table. Picking up an empty scroll, Naruto opened it and grabbed an ink brush and ink. He started writing seals onto the scroll before returning back to where the girls were. Placing the scroll down on a separate table, Naruto performed a set of hand signs and slammed his hand down on the table in front of the scroll. Seconds later, chakra emerged from out of the seal writings and hovered to where Leviathan was. The chakra completely absorbed Leviathan until nothing of it was left and then returned back into the writings. The kanji for seal appeared in the middle of the writings in the scroll. When that task was over, Naruto rolled and closed the scroll and tied it. "We'll keep Leviathan detained and have it brought back with us," Naruto said. He then summoned several Kage Bushins and instructed them to clean up the area and all of the equipment before putting everything away. Well, this was definitely a long day. Naruto yawned and stretched. "I'm going to turn in for the night." "We'll join you," Temari said slyly as Hinata and Ino stood by her, "that is, if you don't mind the extra warmth." "How could I refuse?" Naruto grinned. Chapter 65, An Unconventional Gathering. In Konoha, 1 a.m. Kakashi was still awake with much on his mind. He was presently thinking about what took place yesterday afternoon and how Naruto easily thrashed him and everyone else single-handedly. He turned to look at the portrait of his late sensei and late teammates sitting on the dresser. His eye fell on Minato as his thoughts shifted to both Naruto and Naruto. He then remembered being told at the meeting what Naruto told Jiraiya after the sage complimented him. "You're quite the shinobi Gaki," Jiraiya remarked. "I had very good teachers," Naruto replied. While he was hearing the reports and praises about Naruto's performance, Kakashi during that meeting didn't want to show his guilt and shame in how his student didn't come anywhere close to Naruto's level. And the reply Naruto gave only hammered the point deeper in how inattentive he as a Jounin sensei was to Naruto, the son of his late sensei. What also caught him off guard was when Naruto explained that the Kakashi from the other world was like an older sibling to Naruto, which meant that both he and Kakashi's counterpart were really close and considered family. That relationship didn't exist between him and Naruto. Kakashi knew that he always remained emotionally isolated from everyone after the death of his sensei and teammates. He formed no emotional attachments to anyone, not even with Minato's son, who of all people needed attention and love from anyone willing to show him those feelings and bonds. He focused Naruto and his other genins on maintaining teamwork, but he honestly didn't show balanced attention to either Naruto or Sakura. Most of that was given to Sasuke, who took his training and used it against his own teammates, especially against Naruto. Jiraiya later came and took Naruto up as an apprentice after he, Kakashi, turned Naruto's training over to Ebisu just so he could focus more on Sasuke's development, especially since he was up against Gaara during the final part of the Chunin exams months ago. When he saw Naruto, Kakashi for that brief moment thought that it was really Minato reborn. Part of him really wanted to believe that Minato had somehow returned, even if in a younger form. When Naruto asked about his blunder in calling Naruto Minato-sensei, Kakashi clearly didn't want to talk about it, knowing that it would lead to a whole lot of trouble for him and many others. To Kakashi, Naruto's presence served to show him how negligent of a sensei and friend he was to Naruto, a sharp contrast that undoubtedly exists between Naruto and the other Kakashi. "Sensei," Kakashi said while staring at the photo, "I'm sorry. I've made many mistakes with regards to your son, and I hope it's not too late to correct them in any way I can." In Sector No Return, sometime later, past 2 a.m. Naruto, wearing only his black boxers, was awake in his bedroom, standing and looking out his window, staring at the shining full moon in the blue-hour star-littered night sky. Temari, Ino and Hinata, wearing only their panties with the rest of their clothes tossed to the chairs, were fast asleep in his bed with only the lower half their bodies covered. The girls being asleep gave him time to think and review everything that happened throughout his life while wondering what life for his younger alter ego had to be like. He thought about everything Minato told him while also recalled how Kyuubi was using Naruto's situation to manipulate him. With this in mind, he thought about how the meeting with Tsunade and everyone else was going to turn out. If anything, he wanted an explanation for Naruto's situation and why he's the way he is. Sure, Naruto realistically knew that he couldn't possibly just go and fix every wrong that took place in Naruto's life, but part of him still felt that something should at least be done for him to help him get his life together for the better. Then another thought came to mind. He wants to get Uchiha Sasuke back, and Naruto said to no in particular. I don't know what kind of relationship he had with that traitor. If he's that thick-headed in refusing to give up on him, my guess is that maybe there was something, if anything, that existed between them that never existed between me and the Sasuke of my universe. That's something I'll never come to understand. Then another thought came to mind. A promise of a lifetime to get Sasuke back, Naruto remarked, a promise of that level made to Sakura of all people. Somehow, I wonder if my other self knew what he was getting himself into before making such a declaration. But in any case, it's not my place to force him to change his mind. I can only hope that it won't change and backfire into something he'll later come to regret. What does the future has in store for us? Naruto wondered to himself. Naruto-kun, Hinata muttered lowly in her sleep. Naruto turned to Hinata and the other girls sleeping soundly. I better get some sleep myself, Naruto decided as he made his way joining the girls back in bed. I'm sure I'll think of something to get us back home, Naruto thought while lying in bed amongst his girls. Besides, it's not like anything more could possibly happen now to hold us here any longer than we have to be here. Meanwhile in Konoha, a lone 15-year-old feminine figure was standing outside on top of one of the roofs across the street from the building where Naruto lives. She was geared in foreign jounin uniform and gear with a brownish-tan vest over her jounin vest. Her long dark brown hair flowed freely down to her lower back. This foreign jounin kunoichi was a beauty with both a face and body to show for it, though in her homeland however, she's held in little regard and admiration because of her bitter history, making her an unfavorable ninja among her people. Currently, she was standing outside looking into Naruto's apartment, looking down at the young sleeping form of the teen ninja wearing his childish sleeping pajamas and cap. Does he seriously have to wear those while sleeping? The kunoichi muttered. How could anyone take him serious, especially with those horrendous bright orange clothes he wears? Ryota-chan, a masculine voice called out to her. Ryota, Iwagakure's shining stone, turned to see the one person she despised as much as her former sensei approaching her. Also, she couldn't stand the fact that he kept using that Chan honorific with her name. No matter how many times she told him to stop, he'd continue to do so just to spite her. Bastard, Ryota spat, what the hell are you doing here Sujiro? Sujiro, the diamond fang of IWA, stood tall and behind her. Ryota-chan, Sujiro said with mock hurt, is that any way to welcome a fellow nin? She sneered venomously at him. It's been just about 2 years already, Sujiro sighed, can't you put the past behind us? Her animosity toward Sujiro was very strong after the stunt he pulled on her about 2 years ago. The very thought of him being anywhere near her nauseated her, and she was more than tempted to attempt to kill him, if possible. I'm here by order of the Tsuchikage, Sujiro said pulling out and showing her the official document with the Tsuchikage's signature and seal on it, so you're going to have to work alongside me and put aside your hate. What are you here for? She snarled as she took and looked over at the document. Your report, Sujiro grinned toothily at her, you haven't reported anything to IWA since you were assigned and posted here. What developments have you found recently? Finding the document authentic, she gave it back to him. Nothing, Ryota said, there's nothing significant about this blonde-haired genin that we ought to look into. You've been assigned to monitor and report back with whatever information you found on Uzumaki Naruto, Sujiro retorted, you've been posted here for several months and you're telling me that you found nothing of interest about him Ryota-chan? The Tsuchikage won't be pleased if you don't give me anything with which to report back to him. She sighed to herself before getting her thoughts together. I'm waiting Ryota-chan. Ryota replied to him with a straight face, here's a list of all the things IWA needs to know about the Uzumaki. I'm listening, Sujiro replied. He's an orphan who lives on his own with no known existing family. He's the only ninja who possesses the Uzumaki name with no clan status in this village. The identities of his father and mother are unknown and clearly no one ever wanted to adopt him. He's scorned and looked down on by entire village in general. Is that all? Sujiro asked cynically. There's more to him, Ryota continued, his grades at the academy are by far the worst. He failed the genin exams 3 times and by some miracle passed the 4th time. His graduating class is dead last and his chakra control is god-awful terrible. He can't even perform a simple bushin to save his life without his bushins looking pale, decrepit, and sick. He didn't pass the Chunin exams and he failed in retrieving Uchiha Sasuke, and was nearly killed in the process of trying to get him back along with the others who were sent after the deserter who left Konoha for Otagakure. His other teammate, Haruno Sakura has book smarts and very good chakra control. But in terms of being a kunoichi, she's more concerned about her failed romance with Konoha's deserter and her former teammate, the last Uchiha, the proclaimed Rookie of the Year of Konoha's Ninja Academy. This Uzumaki has a hopeless one-sided infatuation with his violent and short-tempered female teammate who has no interest in accepting his offers of dates with him for reasons I mentioned earlier about his skills. During the time Otagakuer and Tsunagakuer attacked and invaded Konohagakuer, Naruto was found in the forest on the ground beaten up and drained of chakra with his teammate Sakura knocked unconscious. Sasuke was the only one left standing after his fight with Gaara, the famed Suna Genin who was never hit once until his match with a Konoha Genin named Rock Lee and later bout with Sasuke. In other words, I'm wasting my time being forced to stay here and spy on this Uzumaki Naruto. This Genin is an absolute lost cause. You mean to tell me that this is all you found on him? Sujiro asked while looking back at her in disbelief. Iwa has never taken pride in me, Ryota answered. What better way of using my talent than by stationing me in enemy territory of the worst kind where I could put my skills to good use in spying on some dead last genin. Iwagakuer has some form of interest in the lone Uzumaki, Sujiro said. I don't know exactly what that is, but Artsuchikage has taken some form of notice in the boy. If anything, he has plans for the lone Uzumaki. He's wasting my time and resources in having me spy on some orphaned genin who holds no promises as a ninja and practically no one in Konoha likes the blonde idiot, Ryota remarked, that Tsuchikage is better off if he were to focus on more important missions instead of some no-talent Konoha genin. Be that as it may, Sujiro said, but we have our orders, and we will carry them through. Whatever, Ryota replied with boredom. If you find anything else, Sujiro concluded, report back to me about them. Are we clear? Ryota gave him no reply as she turned her head back to Naruto's window. Sujiro shunshined and left the scene, leaving Ryota alone. I thought the fucker would never leave, Ryota snarled before her expression and tone changed. Her eyes turned to the boy's sleeping form again. Turning, Ryota took off into the night and went on her way before any scouting Konoha shinobi spotted her. Uzumaki Naruto-kun, she muttered under her breath before retreating into her thoughts. Hard to believe that this is the same genin who could execute and create hundreds of cage bushins without suffering from chakra exhaustion. He's also the same genin who, with his team and Jounin-sensei, took on Zabuza, the demon of the bloody mist and his partner Haku in Nami no Kuni. Not to mention that he's the same one who fought and defeated the Hyuga prodigy and Suna's Jinhiriki all in the same day. Jiraiya the Toad Sage, the man who trained Konoha's Yondaime, has taken Naruto-kun up as an apprentice. Itaki and some organization called the Akatsuki are seeking him out for some reason, though I doubt it's for the same reason as Iwa's. Naruto-kun learned and mastered the Yellow Flash's Raiznon with a month and used it against this guy named Kabuto while protecting and saving the slug princess Tsunade during a fierce battle with Orochimaru. His battle with the last Uchiha was fierce and unlike any I've ever seen, especially since the Uchiha was using the cursed seal Orochimaru gave him to the highest level he was able to output thus far. It took everything I had to get as close as I could to observe the battle and not blow my cover. Naruto-kun was punched through the chest and straight out of his back by Sasuke's Chidori and still survived it, and on top of that, he healed almost instantaneously from the wound that would have killed a normal person. Naruto-kun could have clearly killed the last Uchiha, but for reason he held back and ended up losing the fight in the end. Without a doubt, this Naruto-kun is definitely the Jinhiriki whom Konoha's Yondaime sealed Kyuubi no Yoko into. Looking straight ahead, Ryota said under her breath, nothing important Iwa needs to know about Uzumaki Naruto-kun, nothing at all. The following day, Naruto and the whole gang consisting of everyone who was supposed to attend the meeting with Naruto were gathered together standing at the entrance to Sector No Return. From the way it looked, none of the genins were all the eager about entering the area which promised an almost immediate death. And I thought the forest of death couldn't get any more creepier, Ino remarked. If you think that was creepy, Anko replied, then you'll love this. I almost feel like we're committing suicide just by being here, Choji grimaced. If you don't have balls as big as you to be here, Anko said, I suggest you leave now and tell no one what you saw or know of. I said nothing about leaving, Choji shot back, swallowing his fear. Was that Naruto really serious about meeting up in a place like this? Kiba asked before hearing beastly growls from inside the sealed-off area. Seconds later, sounds of a vicious fight from inside the sector was heard, followed by the wailing cries of a creature being overpowered. What soon followed in sync with this were the sounds of blood and flesh being torn and devoured, with the sounds of bones being broken off and crushed between teeth. Kano Amaru and his two friends were already getting scared as they hid behind Asuma. Hinata gulped in fear, and even Niji started second-guessing the notion of entering the place. Sakura thought that Naruto's counterpart was out of his mind taking residence in that sector. If anything, her first experience in the Forest of Death was no paradise, and being brought to a place that's considered to be even worse didn't sound all that inviting either. Did Naruto Nyakin have to have us meet here of all places? Kano Amaru thought to himself. Kakashi was reading his book while trying to ignore the noise around him. Are you sure that those four aren't already dead by now after being in that place? Tenten remarked. Tenten, Guy said, giving her his good guy smile, don't allow this dreaded place to cower your flaming youth. Look at it as a challenge to strengthen your flames. I'm not in a hurry to die, Guy-sensei, Tenten exclaimed sourly, youthful or not. Sakura-san, Lee said, appearing next to her, you need not worry. As I said in the past, I'll protect you with my life. My burning youth should be more than enough to take care of those monsters in that forest. Your and Guy's choice of fashion should be more than enough to frighten those monsters, Anko mocked. Despite the situation, some in the group couldn't help but snicker at Anko's remark, though at the expense of Guy and Lee. Just then, Naruto remembered something. Hey, Hinata, Naruto said, immediately gaining the Hyuga heiress's attention. Hinata looked to see Naruto approaching her. Naruto-kun, Hinata greeted with a faint blush on her cheeks. Hinata, Naruto started with a blush on his face, about yesterday's blunder, I want to apologize and say I'm sorry. I had no idea what I was asking of you at the time. Turning crimson, Hinata said, it's alright. I wasn't angry at you, Naruto-kun. You didn't know. That was until Shizune Nichin gave me a crash course about the subject, Naruto added with his face still reddened by the memories of Shizune's explanation. What are you two talking about over there? Sakura interjected. Hinata and Naruto turned to face the pink-haired genin. Sakura saw that both her teammate and Hinata were blushing. What's this all about? Sakura asked curiously, why are you two blushing? No reason, Naruto said, trying to lie his way out of explaining the story to Sakura, just having a friendly conversation with Hinata. That causes the both of you to blush that shade of red, Sakura mentally remarked cynically, well, fill me in. What's the gossip? That by far was the worst word Sakura used. Did someone say gossip? Ino exclaimed as she suddenly appeared among the group, come on, let's hear it. What's the dirt? Who invited you into this conversation? Sakura replied. I don't see a sign saying that only those with large foreheads could join in, Ino shot back. As the argument grew, Naruto and Hinata took the opportunity to sneak away before the Ino and Sakura could remember for what reason they came to Hinata and Naruto. That was too close, Naruto sighed in relief. Hinata simply nodded in agreement. What are Ino and Sakura arguing about? Shikamaru asked. Nothing important, Naruto replied. Troublesome girls, Shikamaru said. It's good to see that you guys showed up on time, a masculine voice said. The group looked up to see Naruto barefooted and in the same clothes as yesterday standing on top of the tree next to them. He leaped down and landed in front of them. Ino and Sakura had stopped arguing through they both shot glares at each other. Everyone's here and accounted for, and Naruto said, good. Why are you late? Jiraiya asked. A ninja never reveals exactly when he'll arrive, and Naruto replied, you of all people should know that rule Aro Jissen. Aro Senin, Jiraiya grumbled, now Aro Jissen. I get no respect from either of those blonde brats. Anyway, and Naruto said getting back to the subject, let's make our way to Dash. You actually want us to walk with you through that damn forest? Ino shouted. Who said we were walking? And Naruto remarked before focusing a strong amount of his wind affinity around group and moments later. Futon, Kuki no Kyutai, and Naruto said as he encased the group in a concentrated atmospheric dome. And Naruto, still using wind manipulation, levitated group off the ground and walked over to the air bubble and grabbed it. What the? Naruto shouted. It's like an invisible air balloon, Shizune commented. This Naruto has a high-level wind affinity, Kakashi said as he closed his book and put it away. It's truly astonishing. Forming a hand sign with his left hand, Naruto and the giant air bubble with the group inside disappeared in a puff of smoke and instantly appeared in front of his mobile house deep within sector no return. Now that's what I call safe traveling, Tsuand remarked. Excellent, the real Naruto said, seeing that his Kage Bushin did the job in encasing the group securely inside the air bubble. Naruto was dressed in standard Konoha Jounin gear and uniform and standing in front of the group and his Kage Bushin, who dispelled the air bubble before puffing himself out in a cloud of smoke. When Jiraiya, Tsuand, Shizoan, Kakashi, Anko, and the other Jounins saw him, they couldn't help but think that he looked like the spitting image of Namikaze Minato. Shikamaru remained silent as he studied Naruto's appearance, which only helped to solidify his conviction that Naruto was indeed the son of Yondaime. He's a cutie, Anko grinned. How did we get here so fast? Naruto asked. I summoned all of you and my Kage Bushin here collectively, Naruto explained. After my Kage Bushin encased all of you in that atmospheric dome he made and grabbed onto it, it made teleporting all of you with my clone here easier. Damn, Naruto shouted excitedly, I'm so cool. You got to teach me your jutsus. We'll see, Naruto replied. You have a house in the middle of this place, Asuma exclaimed, there's no way you could have built it in such a short time. I didn't, Naruto agreed, after making and forming the required foundation, I released this mobile house from the scroll I sealed it into. You sealed an entire house into a scroll? Ino asked in disbelief. Was something that I said misunderstood? Naruto remarked. I uprooted this house from out of its foundation and sealed it into a scroll. Naruto remembered filling the ditch in his estate where the house once was with rich soil and dirt before giving it to Ino, knowing how much she enjoys planting and flowering, especially since her clan owns a flower shop. Hinata would join her in gardening occasionally. Of course, the girls didn't know about the house that was once there until recently. Who sold you this house? Kakashi inquired. It wasn't sold to me, Naruto answered, it was given to me as payment by a once wealthy and powerful man who I wish not to reveal. In any case, I use this mobile house as a sanctuary for long-duration missions outside Konoha. However, I make sure that I situate the house by a close-by water source. So while you're enjoying luxury in this house during long missions, Tenten asked indignantly, everyone else back where you're from is forced to resort to campfires, tents, and sleeping bags. Not my problem, Naruto remarked. Every Jounin leader has their own methods of performing missions. I simply use what's available to me. Why not make it available for everyone else? Asuma asked. No one's given a house for free, Naruto replied. That sounds so unyouthful, Lee commented. Then by all means, Naruto said in sarcasm, use that as a challenge to help strengthen your flames. Neji and Tenten both dropped their heads gloomily, knowing what was to come next. Yosh, Lee shouted enthusiastically, you're right, other Naruto-kun. I'll take your youthful counsel and use it to improve in radiating my shining flames. I dash. Lee was quickly quieted by Tenten, who placed her hand over his mouth. We pretty much get the idea, Tenten remarked. Anyway, Naruto said, come inside and make yourselves at home. What about those monsters in the forest? Udon asked. Don't worry about them, Naruto assured. I placed seal barriers around the perimeter covering a 70-meter radius. Neither they nor anyone else will be breaking through it. The group followed and entered the house with Naruto. Upon entering and taking off their sandals at the front door, they couldn't believe how beautifully decorated and clean the place was. Yesterday, to pass the time while Naruto earlier that day was recuperating in bed, Ino, Hinata and Temari distracted themselves by giving the place a more feminine touch, believing that though the place looked good, it still felt a bit too masculine. You have a lovely house, Nyakan, Mogi admired. You must have done something incredible for whoever that wealthy man was to have given you this house as a gift, Shikamaru commented. I'd rather not brag about it, Naruto said. I love the decorations and choice of furniture, Hinata complimented. The flower ornaments looks skillfully done, Ino admired. Was all this given to you like this? Shino spoke up. Not really, Naruto admitted. The girls fixed up the place believing that it was too manly. They said it needed a woman's touch. Too manly? Kiba asked. What's so bad about that? Besides, it's your place. Why should they care? You obvious don't understand women, Kiba, Ino remarked, and with that kind of attitude you never will. You shouldn't be talking, Kiba shot back, you still haven't gotten yourself a decent boyfriend and you have little to no comprehension about genuine boyfriend material. What did you say? Ino shouted with bloodlust, scaring the Inyazuka heir. Listen all of you, and Naruto stated, while you are all guests in my house, I will not tolerate anyone throwing violent fits of anger at anyone, no matter the reason. So do me a favor and keep your tempers in check. Understand? Whatever you say, Naruto, Kakashi replied as though speaking for everyone, like you said, this is your house and we have to respect your rules. Perfect, and Naruto smiled, then everything's all good. Now please, have a seat, all of you. Everyone did as they were invited to and took seats on the cushy sofas. And Naruto took a seat on the recliner that gave him a view to see everyone in the living room. Naruto made his way to sit next to Sakura when he spotted Hinata sitting on another sofa. Maybe I can take this as an opportunity to get to know Hinata better, Naruto thought, remembering Naruto's advice about getting to know other girls besides Sakura. With his mind made up, Naruto turned and made his way to Hinata. Mind if I sit next to you, Hinata? Naruto smiled. His smile alone could make the Hyuga heiress melt. She smiled in return and offered him a seat next to her. No, not at all. Please, you can sit here if you want. Great, Naruto said as he went and took a seat next to the shy Hyuga. Some in the room didn't really think much of Naruto's gesture. Sakura though almost found it odd that Naruto chose to sit with Hinata and not her. Funny how moved away from me and went over to Hinata, Sakura figured with a shrug. Oh well. I guess he didn't want to chance being yelled at for anything stupid he might do. Anko grinned, I could get used to living here. Beats the dump I stay at. How much you want for this place? Not for sale, and Naruto replied. Come on, name your price, Anko offered with a grin, if you let me, I'm sure I can, make it worth your while. Still my same flirty and amorous Jounin sensei, Anko-chan, and Naruto said. Say what? Naruto reacted as he turned to look at his older counterpart. You're telling us that in your world your Jounin sensei is this psycho snake lady. Ah, Anko pouted with mocked hurt, I'm not that all that bad, Gaki. You threw a kunao at my face and licked my cheek while it bled, Naruto retorted. That only happened once, Anko smiled. Where I'm from, you did it to me frequently with sensuality, in public, or not shamelessly, and Naruto remarked, a penalty for whenever I dropped my guard when I failed to catch sight of you, whether in the opening or in hiding. What? Naruto exclaimed. Sounds exactly like what Anko would do, Kurane agreed as she eyed the look in her friend's face. Like he didn't enjoy the punishments, Anko shot back with a twisted smile. It took a little getting used to, and Naruto smiled and blushed. Once I got past the being cut with a kunao part, I would stay still and allow her to nurse my wound with her tongue. Jiraiya and Kakashi were already blushing and snickering like the perverts they were. The Toad-Sunin had his notepad and pen out and jotted down what Naruto told him. Kiba was blushing and smiling at the idea of a hot-looking woman licking his face, neck, or any other part of him for that matter. I love this Gaki, Jiraiya giggled as he wrote down Naruto's words, I'm definitely using that one for my next book. Isn't such behavior from a Jounin sensei inappropriate? Niji asked. That's what I was thinking, Lee added. While it is true that Anko-chan is not a medic nin like myself, and Naruto admitted, but I was under her supervision at the time. Therefore I obliged in allowing her as my then superior to improvise in the only manner she knew. You. Naruto, Choji, and the rest of the boys looked at Naruto in disbelief. Hinata didn't know what to think while hearing what Naruto was saying. Asuma and Guy gave no reply to the story, deciding to keep their thought to themselves, at least for now. Tsunade, Shizuan, and Sakura weren't at all amused by the story, especially since they were also medic ninjas, Sakura in training anyway. Kurane shook her head wondering just how much did Anko influence Naruto's thinking. The slug princess turned to see Jiraiya writing down everything he was hearing with that perverted smile on his face. It irritated Tsunade to no end that her counterpart raised and brought up a young man who was a shameless pervert, no thanks to Jiraiya having a major share in Naruto's upbringing. Your sensei is rather kinky, Kano Amuro grinned toothily. I'm sure being around her was a lot of fun. Mogi looked at Kano Amuro with an annoyed expression. She's as kinky and fun as she is dangerous and crazy, and Naruto added. How could my counterpart approve of having Anko-san as your sensei? Tsunade asked. You make it sound like a bad thing, Tsunade-sama, Anko snorted, though I myself am interested in hearing about it since I never gave thoughts to having an apprentice. It's a long story really, and Naruto said, but we can talk about that and other things with some drinks and refreshments. N. Hinata, N. Ino and N. Temari, all three dressed in beautifully designed kimonos and hairstyles befit for a geisha, entered the room with trays carrying treats and refreshments. And Naruto's Kage Bushins were in the kitchen helping the girls prepare the food and drinks to serve to the guests. The treats consisted of bowls each having roasted beef and chicken cutlets, 2 rice balls, chopsticks, and 2 sticks of dangos. And Naruto's girls politely went over and offered a bowl of food each the guest. Everyone gave their thanks and accepted the food being offered to them. Itadakimasu, you Naruto shouted happily before digging in. You don't have to be so loud and piggish, Naruto, Sakura scolded. Her words went with no reply being given to her. You planned all this out, Gaki? Anko asked. Hey, and Naruto replied, just because we're ninjas doesn't mean we can't entertain our guests, yes. Shikamaru looked at Yu Naruto with thoughts about what he uncovered last night while investigating Naruto's backgrounds. The Nara heir could only wonder how Yu Naruto could continue being the person he was despite all of the adversities and tribulations he endured all his life as a Jinchuriki. I don't know how I'd have managed living your life, Naruto, Shikamaru contemplated, but it's clear to me that you use your smile and hyperactive demeanor as a defensive mask to hide your true pain, sorrow, and loneliness. What more is there to you, Naruto? I love your kimono and hairstyle, Ino complimented her other self, you really make the both of us look good in it. Thanks, and Ino smiled, I do my best to impress. The fabric material looks exquisite, Hinata complimented, you girls have good taste. To tell you the truth, and Temari said, Naruto-kun picked them out and bought them for us. Your Naruto did what? Kiba snickered, he actually went to a women's store and bought you girls kimonos and feminine accessories. He must be in touch with his feminine side. Shut up, Kiba, Yu Naruto retorted, defending his counterpart, at least he looks out for them and has the girls' best interests in heart. He's right, Kiba, Kurane agreed, you shouldn't be too quick to make snide comments about a person's actions without knowing the motives behind it. And it's clear that this Naruto has an eye for choosing appealing clothes. Seconds later, 5 of Naruto's Kage Bushins came out with drinks, one of them having a tray carrying small cups and a bottle of sake. Shikamaru and the Genins were given non-alcoholic beverages whereas Jiraiya and of course Tsunade were offered sake. Where did you get the sake? Shizune inquired. From my small bar where I stash the rest of my sake and wine, and Naruto replied. You drink? Tenten asked with a risen voice. Yeah, and Naruto remarked, the girls and I do, so what of it? But you and the rest of us are underage, Ino said. As Anko-san once explained it to the 3 of us, and Hinata replied politely while referring to Ino, and Temari and herself, if becoming ninjas make us adults legally by shinobi standards, then by those same standards, we're eligible to enjoy and appreciate the taste of all forms of alcohol. Everyone in the room, with the exception of Naruto, Ino and Temari, looked at Hinata with stupefied expressions. In all accounts, their Hinata was always the shy, quiet, and timid Hyuga heiress. This Hinata was clearly the complete opposite. Did she just say what I thought she said? Choji asked. Did I stutter? Hinata remarked just as politely, causing the said group to be taken aback. I like your attitude, Anko smirked, you got spunk. How else did I influence you? It's a long story, Ino answered for Hinata, and we'd rather not discuss it openly. Tsunade and Jiraiya currently both didn't seem to care as they accepted the free sake. In Tsunade's case, she took 3 cups worth. Kurane looked at the Hinata, comparing and contrasting her to the other Hinata. What she saw in Hinata was a spirit that manifested self-confidence, poise and a level of maturity that radiated a particular afterglow. The Genjutsu mistress, who always had a special motherly attachment and bond with the Hyuga heiress, saw that there was more to Hinata than meets the eyes. Asuma, who's been quiet and more observant thus far, saw the look in Kurene's face as she eyed both Hinata and Hinata. He wondered what was going through her mind at the moment as he accepted the cup of sake offered to him by Entameri. Guy also accepted a cup of sake and he wasn't too quick to drink it just yet. Kakashi declined and settled for something non-alcoholic. After all the guests were served their food and drinks, the girls and Kage Bushins set the trays down on a nearby table. And Hinata gave Naruto a cup of sake before she and the two other girls took seats around him. This didn't go without Jiraiya's notice as a perverted smile grew on his face. You four must be rather close, Jiraiya snickered. Kaki? I mean it's just you, 3 girls and this big gorgeous house that you own in the middle of a dangerous forest. With all the dangers and monsters lurking around in this forest cut off from civilization, the girls must feel safe knowing they have someone as handsome and strong like you around to protect them, especially during those cold, dreadful, and lonely nights. Hinata, Ino and Entameri had to fight hard not to show any blushes on their faces, especially since Jiraiya was actually talking the truth, whether or not he knew it. Tsunade and the others saw where Jiraiya was going in his speech and frankly, Tsunade and most of the females weren't amused at all by his implications. Hinata was blushing at Jiraiya's words, as was Ino though she did better at hiding it. And with your added medicnin expertise, Jiraiya teased, I'm certain the girls can always rely on your skill hands for a thorough physical. Tsunade charged and thrust her fist at Jiraiya. Her right fist came mere centimeters from his face when she and the others found snakes wrapped tightly around both her right arm and waist, holding her back from inflicting any harm to the Toadsunin. Turning to the source of the snakes, everyone saw Naruto's right arm extending with snakes coming out of his sleeve. This Kaki also knows snake jutsus, Anko realized like everyone else. I wonder what else he knows that my other self might have taught him. With all due respects, Naruto said calmly but seriously, I'd appreciate if you'd keep your temper in check and not resort to using brute force in my house. I'd hate for you to have to pay for the damages incurred because you couldn't control your violent temper. All but Naruto's girls looked at Naruto in shock and disbelief. He was restraining and putting the Hokage in her place without the slightest hesitation or fear for his own safety. The look he gave the older woman showed that he wanted his words respected and obeyed. This guy has a death wish, Sakura thought, pulling a stunt like that on Tsunade-sama? He's really in for it this time. Shanero, inner Sakura proclaimed. Are you crazy? Kiba retorted, don't you realize with whom you're messing with? I'm very well aware of my actions Kiba, and Naruto said, but this is my house. And in it, I'm Hokage and I'd appreciate having my rules respected by my guests. Ero-jisan, though perverted, was simply stating his opinions. It's not worth getting violently worked over. Silence filled the room as the group in general just stared at Naruto in awe. Pulling a stunt like this on the Hokage would have promised an immediate death for practically anyone else. This guy is a lot like me, Naruto thought with a childish smirk on his face, I guess we're not so different after all. Am I seeing and hearing this? Tenten thought in shock as her idol was being reprimanded in front on everyone. Sakura was shocked that Tsunade didn't retaliate against Naruto at that moment. If anything, she expected the senior medicnin to clobber Naruto for the stunt he pulled on her. Though this Naruto is strong, Sakura figured, there's no way he could match up against a Sunin of Tsunade's caliber, especially when she's angry. Wow, Kano Amara thought as he, Udon and Mogi looked at Naruto with disbelieving eyes and admiration, he's telling it to Tsunade-sama without fear of punishment. Anyone else would have been beaten badly and hospitalized by now. In spite of what just happened, Tsunade grew a form of respect for Naruto. The blonde Hokage wasn't exactly surprised by Naruto's actions. She recalled her first encounter with Naruto and how he threatened to punch her in the face if she bad-mouthed Sandaime and Yondaime in front of him again like she was doing when they first met. My apologies, Tsunade apologized respectfully, you're absolutely right. This is your house and I must respect your rules regardless of how much Jiraiya's words irks us. Like none us ever had a perverted thought in our lives, Naruto remarked before retracting the snakes from off Tsunade, as if. His remark won him several snorts, all of which he ignored. It's hard to believe that I'm your adoptive mother back where you're from, Tsunade remarked, are you certain there was no mistake? You breastfed me as an infant until I was 5, Naruto replied and shrugged. This resulted in everyone but Tsunade bursting out into a fit of loud laughter. Tsunade's mouth dropped open with widened eyes as her face turned a shade of red that rivaled any Hinata ever turned. When the group visualized Naruto being cradled on Tsunade's lap while being breastfed by her, it made them laugh harder. Naruto's face was just as red as he looked at Tsunade and thought about what his counterpart just said. "Don't get any ideas, Gaki," Tsunade grumbled, whose face was still just as red from sheer embarrassment. "How was such a thing possible?" Shizune asked while trying to control her laughter. "Tsuan-sama never had children, so dash. Kaa-chan developed a wet nursing jutsu and tested it out with me while I was still a newborn infant," and Naruto interjected and explained. The results were more than satisfactory and successful as many female medics sought to learn this medic jutsu. "Are you serious?" Sakura asked. "Gaki," Jiraiya said between his laughs, "you must have been the envy of your world. 5 years worth of Sunin-level breastfeeding. I know Tsunade is world-renowned medicnin, but she took nursing to a whole new level." "Put a sock in it, Jiraiya," Tsunade snorted as her right eye twitched. Turning to Shizune, Sakura and Tsunade, and Naruto said, "Though I'm no female, I have detailed knowledge on how the jutsu works and what's required physically with the needed chakra control to perform the jutsu properly. Would you like for me to devise a scroll for this just for this world's use for those who wish to become wet nurses for newborn babies?" The offer of a new medic breakthrough was very tempting and Tsunade was debating on whether or not to accept the offer, especially since it was her other self who created and perfected it. Therefore, saying that she created it wouldn't exactly be an all-out lie. "We'll talk," was Tsunade's reply. "Fair enough," and Naruto said, "So what would you guys like to know? Tell us what growing up was like for you," Naruto asked. "What was it like having Tsunade no Bachan and Ero-sen as parents? And why is it that Temari-san is wearing a Konoha handband?" Shino asked after a long silence. "She didn't defect from Suna to Konoha, did she?" "Where do I start?" and Naruto said aloud as he collected his thoughts to carefully explain his story. Meanwhile, Ryota was standing outside the entrance to Sector No Return. Using her Earth affinity, she analyzed the ground and checked for any changes that might have taken place before her arrival. She discovered that the tracks have stopped several feet from the sealed-off entrance. She searched around and found no traces of the group departing elsewhere. "That's odd," Ryota contemplated out loud. "The tracks just stopped at the entrance but there's no sign of anyone entering the forest or going anywhere else. So where did they go?" Her eyes then caught sight of a footprint on the ground, which clearly showed that someone who wasn't wearing any form of footwear was in the area at the same time the group of Konoha-nins were present. Were they collectively levitated and brought into the forest? Ryota wondered. "Where are you, Naruto-kun? You can't hide from me." Doing a set of hand signs, Ryota summoned her Iwa no Tsurugi and clasped the earthen sword in her hand. "Looks like I have to venture through that forest and find you the hard way, Naruto-kun," Ryota said as she made her way enter through the entrance of Sector No Return. When she was just about to enter, "Ryota-chan," Sujiro called to her. Ryota snarled at being referred to again by that honorific. "Why are you here now, Sujiro?" The diamond fang of Iwa appeared in front of her, coming at check out why you're entering that forest. "Are you in such a hurry to die?" "No," Ryota retorted, "I was simply doing my job before you interfered." "In that case," Sujiro offered, "since I'm here, why don't I accompany you through this most hated and secluded forest?" "I can take care of myself," Ryota replied, "I don't need your help." "Maybe," Sujiro said, "but we know very little about this part of the Forest of Death and if anything you will need my help should things get out of hand in that part of the forest. Remember we have a mission to fulfill. Iwa has important plans and the Lone Uzumaki is the essential part of the plan. Understand, Ryota-chan?" Ryota saw that Sujiro knew more than he was letting on. She decided not to press on the subject, at least for now. "I understand," Ryota consented. "Good," Sujiro smiled, "now let's continue with this mission." The two Iwa Jounins turned and made their way into the forest. Check the description for the links to the author.